Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gaytriarchy episode Infinity. Are you a man? Are you a gay man? Are you a man that occasionally sucks on things that aren't nipples that are female and licks things that aren't vaginas? Well, then you've come to the right place. Oh, I had some like funny little intro that I was thinking about earlier, and I kind of honestly just forget what it was entirely. I was a little bit hungover earlier today because I had my Seattle meetup with Benjamin Boyce and Mundane Matt showed up, which was cool. And a lot of people showed up, actually. It was more people than I thought maybe were going to show up. And it was at this really cool, I guess, house is just the best way to describe it. But it has this overhead view of all these trees, kind of like you're in some sort of Endor or some shit. And yeah, it's really, really cool. And hopefully we're going to be able to use the same place again. But I drank because obviously, and ended up getting quite drunk. And so I'm honestly a little bit groggy. I didn't really think about putting together a show all that much. It was all of a sudden last minute was like, well, maybe I should try to get Benjamin Boyce to come on the show. But I wrote him and didn't hear back from him. And I called him and it went straight to voicemail. So here we are. We don't have a guest, but whatever.
But you have a cat.
It's true. You're here.
I am. I have plugged directly into the DSL line. So even though I'm operating on 18th century internet, hopefully without latency, I will not get dropped a bunch of times like I had the last couple of times. But hey, everyone, I'm our cat's gay. I am, like I say every week, I'm not the father of, but I am the coiner of the term gigtal, and I do a lot of stuff about, gays going their own way, and I used to be more of an anti-SJW. Now I'm just sort of here and doing the gays for gay thing with Prince of Queens and my lovely co-hosts. And I'm also really tired because I've been working 2 jobs for like 6 weeks, and yeah, I'm running on coffee and Adderall and 3 hours of sleep a day. But hey, I haven't died yet.
3 hours, really? Is that an exaggeration?
Well, sometimes it's 3 hours. Most of the time it's like 5 or 6. But it really just depends what kind of a day I have.
Do you get any time to nap?
Yeah. I work in people's homes, so I go from one home to the other home back and forth, and I go to my own home for about an hour a day and 6 hours on the weekends. So I can sleep and nap, but when you're always on the job site and something can potentially just like get you up at any given time, it's sleep, but it's not super restful sleep. So yeah, I guess I'm just trying to see how long I can go before I eventually grind myself down into a fine nub. But on the upside, all of this sleep deprivation, I've lost like 15 pounds. So hey, there's that.
That's cool. I always gain weight when I get sleep deprived. Sucks.
Yeah, I guess it's just because I'm just not eating really, because I'm always like nibbling a little. I have a nibble for breakfast. I have a nibble for lunch. And then most of the time I just want to sleep. So. And I can't drink because I'm always on the job. So there's that.
Well, yeah. I'm actually still up north enjoying my last few weeks in Murica up by the lake. So I've had a very, very relaxing time. It's like being at a spa all the time. Yeah, this is Spacepan resident, radical MRA. Atheist with the ANCAP logo for ANCAP reasons.
And he's from Minnesota. That's not really relevant information. I just felt like throwing that in there because Minnesota.
Or as I like to call it, from sunny California, might as well be Canada because it's cold as shit.
It's more like Norway in exile, from what I understand.
I've still never been to Canada. It's like right there, and I just like haven't bothered. It's like, fuck that noise.
Are you afraid of moose attack? Actually, no, it's not. It's no longer the carnivorous moose of the north that you have to worry about. No, now it's the rabid Title IX, Bill C-16 Twitterites that you have to worry about. They actually ran all the moose out of the country because they would not use pronouns.
Yeah, these days the horrors are much more bureaucratic.
So I am a sex worker. There is nothing wrong with that. Now here, fill out these 3 forms before I suck your dick. Oh my god.
I need an STD test from like 24 hours ago. I need you to know my preferred pronouns and how I like my tits slapped.
You know what? That is.
And if you want to touch my ass, it's an extra 50.
You know what? That is so like what would that be, like breast normative? Like, why does, just because she's a hooker, why does she have to have breasts?
I don't know. Maybe because she wants to shake her money makers. I don't know.
You're being so problematic right now. Like I'm triggering myself. It's just terrible.
Isn't it my job to be the one triggering person on here? Oh, hey, Farrell's here, so I've just been replaced.
Farrell, you have 2 YouTube channels now. You confused me.
Yes.
Oh, I'm a confusing person. Actually, I've got more than that, but okay.
Well, when I put in Feral Cat, because I was going to source some of the stuff that you put in our in our film, like I went to search for your channel to make sure I had the right links, and 2 of them came up, and they have different names than they used to. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from the nickname that I am using. It turns out that there's a fishing lure company that decided in the years since I started using it that it would be a great company name for them. I'm like, what the hell? I'll let them have it.
I mean,
and
I think
I've got a shoebox full of aliases, so I'll be happy to use another one.
It's not really an issue unless you start like selling merchandise, and even then it's kind of like, especially for something as not generic but universal as Feral Cat, I don't think anyone could actually claim to have ownership over that.
I don't know. I could make a good case for it. I'm just not pressing the issue.
You could, but
well, if it's a Canadian company, just claim you're non-binary and they'll have to give it up.
We've got some. We've got Melissa Carley and Liberal Hammer in the chats, and all of our other usuals.
Right.
Hello, people.
Hi,
We
guys.
are on today.
So I want to say 2 things. One is that if you're watching and you have not yet smashed the like button, please do that. I would appreciate it.
Like the patriarchy.
Because it does help us in the algorithms, and without the algorithms, we are nothing. But the other thing is that Josephat Pineda sent it in the chat. Great news! The copyright law of the EU has been repealed. Untrue. It was not repealed. They are still trying to progress into passing it, but what they're they wanted to be able to pass it in some sort of like weird secret tribunal, and the opportunity for them to do it in secret has been repealed.
They called it the trialogue. And yes, the Sargon and the UKIPs have, along with the Green Party of all people, have prevented it from being done in secret. But it's just tabled. It's not defeated yet.
Yeah.
It's like in Lord of the Rings. They killed Sauron, but they did not destroy the ring. It could still reconstitute itself.
Yeah, the Green Party is also just weird.
Play a major role too, so it really was like a coalition effort.
Mm-hmm. Wait, which one?
Someone in Iceland, like their pirate party, they have like an official pirate party.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I'm just going to say about the Green Party, though, they're weird. Like, there's times where it's like, yeah, pro free speech, and there's other times like, no, how dare you not use my pronoun that I made up right now?
I understand there's quite a big difference between the European Green Party and our Green Party over here in the US of A.
Even in the US, they still have that same kind of weird, like, bipolarism.
True. Look at, what was her name? Jill Stein. What a weirdo.
Yeah, she was a crackpot.
Mm-hmm. She's a disgrace to the medical profession and an all-around confusing. Is she a lesbian, or does she just look like a lesbian?
I think she just looks like a lesbian.
She's married to a guy.
Oh, do we know it's a guy? Did you just assume his gender?
No, I looked under him.
Oh,
You looked under
okay.
him?
Well, as long as you have independent third-party verification, like or oral exam, either will do.
No.
Well, if it's by sight, feel, or oral, we know he's a man.
You can't go by feel. Like that could be prosthetic. Like we need on-site inspection.
We didn't have any sponsorships from Snap-on Tools, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, okay. This is definitely the direction we've taken. We're talking about Jill Stein's husband's penis.
Robo penis.
Well, if it goes from Jello to broomstick, when I touch it, it's real.
Oh my god.
We're awful, aren't we?
What?
Catch.
Yes.
Did you watch Beaches yet?
No, I didn't, but it's on my list. I've put it under. I'm torrenting it at home, so once I get home, I'll be able to watch it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, there's this. So, Katz and Bacon are working on this video that is about. What's the title again?
Pink Dollars at Work.
Okay, so yeah, it's about the way LGBT charities and nonprofits, like where the money is like actually really going, and of course a lot of it just goes to fucking the Democratic Party and feminism and stuff like that. I don't actually know, I haven't watched this video, but the way in which, Jesus, do I sound staticky? Is that happening?
Very.
A little bit.
Okay, fucking hell, hold on.
Anyway, should we show ourselves, cats?
Well, he's gonna talk, but
Let's see. Do I still sound staticky?
It's
When he's staticky, it's Prince of Screens.
Okay.
Oh,
No, I think it's better now. Yes, I just had to unplug my thing. So, to illustrate the point of like how gay men are treated by like feminists and probably the Democratic Party, there's this moment in the movie Beaches with Bette Midler, which if nobody's ever seen, it's like one of the gay classics, you know. And it's a good movie. It's actually really good. And so in the plot of the movie, Bette Midler is it's basically Bette Midler as Bette Midler. Like there's like if you can imagine what her life was probably like, it's basically this. So she grew up in the Bronx and was performing at a very early age, and you know is like playing at. So there's some time when she's probably supposed to be in her early 20s or something, and she's playing at some sort of like jazz piano bar or something, and performing for not that many people. There's like maybe 9 people in the bar, and at the end of the night, she walks up to her boss or whatever, who's presumably, you know, he's a gay guy, but he's not even talking. He's just sitting there like smoking a cigarette, holding a drink or whatever, and she's like, "Hal, can I get an extra 50 before the week is over?" And he's like, "Business has been slow." And she's like, "What is wrong with you? Can't you see I'm just working my ass off? What the hell is one? You were just blah, blah." And then he like pulls out a 50 and gives it to her. And he's like, "Oh, thank you, Hal. If your mother hadn't been such a bitch, we could have had something."
Yeah.
And I feel like that perfectly encapsulates the way that the gays are kind of treated by.
The only thing that's missing is that if she then goes to her girlfriends and then complains about what a terrible person he was after he gave her the money. But yeah, that is too perfect. Like I definitely want to.
Well, no, I think it would be more. What would be more accurate would be more like she would go over and be like, "I love the gays and they love me."
Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? I take it back. You are correct. Oh my god. So what are we talking about today?
I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. I'm eating my ice cream and changing the subject.
Well, we have Space Pan's Terry Gilliam's on diversity article, if you want to go into that.
Oh, sure. I've been watching. I actually just recently, with my person I'm taking care of, we watched all 3 of the Monty Python movies over the last few days because she had never seen them before.
So, by the way, somebody said Voltron Defender of the Universe said, "Prince of Queens, could you finally talk about gun issues?" No, I don't know where this finally comes from. If other people have things to say about it, I'm not stopping them, but I don't know where you got the impression that I'm someone that has been like postponing my great epic talk about gun issues. I don't really.
Come on, Priz. Everyone's been talking about it. We've all been talking about it behind your back. We've been saying, "Come on, why don't we talk about gun issues?" Like every episode, we've just been waiting for it.
All the time.
No, guys.
17 freaking weeks in a row, and finally, the dam broke loose, and we just put it in the chat. Finally, and that was the response.
You're confused. You're all confusing the issue. We haven't been talking about guns. We've been shooting our mouths off. It's similar, but it's not the same thing. Voltron says, "You said you don't talk about it." I don't remember us ever talking about guns one way or the other.
Yeah,
my position is on handcap, therefore we should all be able to 3D print our own Megazords, and that's final.
But I just don't really know that much about them, mainly. Like it's just, I like to talk about things that I know about.
Farrell, I imagine you know quite a bit about guns.
My lawyer has advised me not to say anything on this subject.
That's all you need to know. When you have that kind of response, you know there's an interesting story.
I know plenty, actually, to be really hilarious about it. I mean, I even have a concealed carry permit, but I don't have one in the house.
I prefer swords and rat poison.
No, I'm wicked with a hatchet or a screamer.
If the best way to kill someone is with a needle and an air embolism, it's very difficult to trace.
Actually, I prefer to kill them with kindness. I have a shovel that I named Kindness.
I need to get one of those.
I mean, I talk about people need. Actually, no, I'm not going to finish that story.
Yeah, I like guns. I like shooting things. I don't know. As for regulating them, I have I don't really know situation, other than maybe requiring someone to take a freaking safety class. Because I live, I don't know, a good 20 feet from a neighbor, so I don't want their dumbass accidentally shooting me. If they're all like, "I want a big ass gun. I don't know how this works. Oh no, I just misfired and nearly shot me." That's like.
Actually, I wouldn't mind having a cannon for home defense. I mean, it certainly sends a message.
I mean, if I lived in Richmond, I might want a cannon for home defense.
You know what the best defense about when you live in Richmond is? Don't live in Richmond.
Leaving.
No, I used to be a lot more extreme. I used to be much more liberal before I found out I was actually a centrist. Yeah, I used to have pretty strong opinions about guns, and then I realized I don't really know anything about guns. But then when I also realized that you can't stop people from killing each other with laws. You have to stop the people. Anything can be used as a weapon of mass destruction.
You have to stop them with dogs.
Yes, I do. Oh, that would be no. If the dogs can have guns, if the cats can have lasers.
Well, they've been trying to get them for the longest. Actually, that would probably work out not so well, giving the cats lasers. Let me think on this. Now, being able to call in tactical airstrikes, yes, definitely we should give them that ability, but...
We give the dogs guns, the cats lasers, we give the rats swords, we give the birds cherry bombs. Let's just make nature into one giant jamboree of death.
Someone should make a sci-fi where like somebody's shooting a doomsday laser into a planet, and all these cats like have their own spaceships, like they're furry style cats, like they're anthropomorphic cats, so they have their own spaceships, and they see the laser out in space, and they're all compelled to it, and that's the driving.
Oh my god! It's the universe.
I'm gonna send an email. Someone needs to make that happen. You don't even need to credit me. I just want to see it. I just want it on Netflix.
You know what that sounds like? It sounds like one of those really strange, like early '90s morning cartoons that we all used to watch and none of us remember anymore, full of anthropomorphic creatures with weird vehicles.
Well, most of us don't remember them, and the others turned into furries. So
I'm just imagining it with the same aesthetic as all those they've become cliche. All of the T-shirts that have like a cat shooting laser beams out of its eyes in space with the colors everywhere.
Yeah,
show that some Tim and Eric like thing.
It's an Adult Swim show.
I just want to mention My hot take on melee weapons, I think spears are cooler than swords. Spears are like totally underrated and totally neglected, but if you have a spear and know what you're doing, you can keep away anyone with a sword.
Well, not to mention, it's spears are modifiable. I mean, for example, atlatls. Think about it.
Ladles? What?
No, atlatls. Atlatls are used to throw. They're kind of a lever that are used to throw a spear a lot farther.
Oh, I was just picturing someone fighting with a punch bowl.
Atlatls.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's. Yeah, as someone, I've told people this before. Maybe it's kind of a cop out, but like honestly, like ever since I became a nurse, like even though I still enjoy violent movies and things like that. Like, for instance, I used to love the movie Jackass, but when I tried watching it again, aside from it being really cringy these days, when I watch it again and I see them doing these stupid things, all I can think is, oh, God, that's going to hurt, or, oh, that's going to get infected, or, oh, my God, you're going to have to cover that. It's just like, it just ruined violence for me.
That's all I ever felt. I always hated it. That's how I always felt about it.
Really?
Yeah, I hate Jackass. I think it's stupid. I never liked it. I was just like, this is awful. Same thing with like those fail videos who would just like fall and get hurt. I hate those. I never thought they were funny ever.
I just don't understand. Like when you, it's
like funny when it's little kids though, right?
Okay, yes, it is funny when little kids do it.
Funny.
But no, it's more fun when kids do it.
No, it's really funny when little kids hurt themselves. When teenagers who are smart enough to avoid it get hurt, like then it's
that's still funny.
It's also it's funny when it's like fucking little toddlers trying to like learn how to walk and like cats come and pounce on them.
Oh, I know.
That's hilarious. Oh,
yeah, but in fairness, I mean, kids are basically made out of rubber until they're about 6 or so. So they bounce.
Well, it actually you're actually that you're half correct. I mean, like if a baby or a toddler dislocates its shoulder, their bones are so still flexible compared to ours that they can literally just pop right back into place.
Still majority cartilage. I actually had to explain that to my younger brother when he had his first kid. Like Dad's not around to tell you, so the kid is going to fall off the bed. Don't freak the fuck out. They bounce.
I
something he would have told us.
Did you advise him?
I had something more to say about just guns and blah 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 blah. So 2 things. I have come around. I don't know that much about guns, but I didn't really think that much about the importance of the Second Amendment until recent years. And there is a really, really strong contemporary argument, which is simply like, okay, so leftists, liberals, the Democrats they're going to attack guns endlessly. And the reason why is because the military industrial, the gun manufacturer people, those people are one of the biggest lobby money groups for the Republican Party. They will always give money to the Republicans. They will never give it to the Democrats. And it's a lot of money. Like we sell lots and lots of guns that are manufactured in this nation. We sell them to this nation. We sell them overseas. So the Democrats are going to come up with whatever way that they can to advocate against that happening. And the Republicans are always going to advocate for guns, and that's the motive. Like those are the motives, right? It's very simple. But in terms of the Second Amendment, there is an actual very good argument, which is that citizens should be able to defend themselves with weapons against potentially the government, and that is a strong point. There's no great way of defeating it, and the left and the Democrats will say their standard talking point now in the current year is that civilians have no chance against the government because if the government had a problem with somebody, they'd send drones after them. And so screw you and your AR-15. When there's a drone, you're going to lose. And that would sort of make sense if it weren't for the fact that drones are piloted by military people. Military people exist on a base, generally. And you have to, the people who are on the base are composed of generally citizens. The vast majority of people who are in our military are actually non-active duty. They're not actually serving a term. They're not on a base. They are not directly following orders at any given time. And even if it were the case that like everybody on the base decided that they were going to be like tyrannical or were following tyrannical orders and didn't really know any better, which is debatable because it's not like everybody in the military is just a bunch of morons that's just always 110.
They're not the Borg.
Yeah, like it's like there is potentially the potentiality for dissent. Like it's not like people on base can't watch YouTube videos. But even further than that, there's all of the reserve military people, and in every city that they could be in, they have access to the base, and they could go potentially storm the base, take it over, and then they could pilot the drones. So, but if they can't do that, like if they don't have access to their weapons, they can't storm the base. So it is actually a lot more complicated than people think. So that's a good argument. I've come around to at least seeing that argument. I don't know where I stand. In terms of I'm not going to take a solid stance because I don't know that much about it. But the other thing is that he mentioned that he thinks that if gay guys are feeling like they're under threat, they should arm themselves. I don't want to say I'm for or against that, but there are plenty of gay guys who do. There's an organization called the Pink Pistols that you can look into.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking, believe it or not, I mean, I don't know if it'll actually happen anytime soon, but I sometimes have actually I've been in positions now where I've sort of thought about, it would be good if I had a gun around, not because I ever would plan on using it, but because I think, in my personal opinion, it seems like guns have less to do with I know that the original purpose is the ability to defend yourself against the government per se, but I feel like it also has, at least these days, the better argument for me personally was just sort of like, it's a great deterrent against people potentially taking advantage of you.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know what? That was very clumsily put. What I mean is like.
Well, no, I understood.
I cede the floor to you, Farrell, because like I'm not quite fixed on this issue yet.
Of course. Basically, you got to be really careful with just the idea of it as a deterrent. I mean, if you're going to bring out a weapon into a fight or into a situation, you have to be prepared to use it.
Yes.
Or it can be turned and used against you or someone else.
Very true.
So that's one of the things that's part of the reason why I don't, have one in the house now.
Yeah, I would never get a gun unless if I were going to get a gun, even if it weren't required, which I don't think it is required, but even if I would not want to have a gun without having gone through classes. I would want to have gone to the range and figured out how to use it properly, and I'd probably want a gun safe. So,
definitely. And you can get them cheap too.
Yeah. What, the guns or the gun safe?
Safe.
Yeah.
Shoot, I have a couple of them around the house that just keep documents and stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything that's potentially dangerous, like my hatchets and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have a gun. The only thing I could really use if someone broke into my house and I had to defend myself, I do have a maul. I don't know if you guys know. Apparently not many people know what that is. Just it's a sledgehammer with an axe on the other end. Oh yeah, you know what that is. But yeah, I used it to make my patio because I had to break up a bunch of stuff. And it would be a very effective deterrent against home invasion, zombies, trees, whatever you need to.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only real, I guess, solid position I have on guns is I am very much for the no buying them across state lines thing. Because I know in Nevada, I know sometimes some gun sellers in Nevada won't sell certain guns to people from California, but I don't think people should be able to leave their state, buy guns, and bring them in unless they're a resident of that state also. I know it's rare, but I know it's one of those things that can happen, and I would rather the federal government just abdicate it and say, no, you're not doing that, states, you deal with it, than the federal government get screwy with it.
I feel like we could avoid a lot of our current violent problems if we just found some way to streamline the process with when, like, for instance, the Parkland situation. The situation, he was a known factor. anyone who looked at the situation could see that he was a danger waiting to happen, but there was so much bureaucracy and so much buck passing that a tragedy was unleashed because no one took responsibility. We have to find some way of streamlining the process when there are disturbed individuals who are clearly a danger to themselves and others. And even if they have, but if they just because they haven't technically done something yet doesn't mean that we should just wait for them to do something. I'm not saying we need to preemptively go after all of like the people that disturb us, but there needs to be some way for police, mental health, and other services to communicate effectively without being bogged down in who's responsible and like paperwork.
Well, I know another thing specifically with Florida is like with their foster care / child care system, literally one social worker can be dealing with hundreds of kids and they may never actually meet the kids they're working with. Because I've known people who've gone through Florida's foster care system and just the Souths in general. Whereas in California, you actually know your social worker if you're in the foster care system. So this could have been a thing where simply the, social worker is literally just rubber stamping paperwork because it's not even worth reading through all of them. Because what are the odds of 1 in 2 or 300 actually having a real issue? Because also one thing that could have happened in the system. Because he was a foster kid, right?
I don't know actually if he. I don't think he was. I thought he was just being passed around from relative to relative, but
if he was in the foster care system, I know Florida is not the best state for foster care, and that's saying something considering California is pretty shit too.
Yeah. Let's turn into the gay gun channel for a minute.
Yeah, well, we talked about it.
Yes. It has been said.
Yeah, I don't think that we're ever really going to be some sort of gay guys that talk about guns a lot.
Who knows?
Mainly,
this could be it could be our most popular episode ever. Like we could have merchandise.
We're not. We can get that Serge guy from Beverly Hills Cop. We'll have to get him on as a guest.
We can have guests that want to talk about things on, but like I am never going to be that gay guy that talks about guns all the time, and I veto that as a common topic of discussion because it's just not something that I know about. I never will know about it.
The liberal hammer just came up with the best title ever: Fags and Their Mags.
Yeah.
For me, it ultimately comes down to I do not trust myself to own a gun. Like, I feel like I'm the person that would accidentally shoot my dick off or something. So, like, I will never own a gun, and people, they can say everything they want about how it's not that hard to be safe and blah, 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 and that's great, but it would be for me, so no. So I'm never going to know that much about guns because I'm never going to own one. So that's it.
Oh, that would be such a great vlog style YouTube thing. You and Liberal Hammer have a meetup where he takes you to the range and shows you how to shoot you a gun and not how to shoot your dick off.
But to preserve his privacy, though, we're going to blur over his face and just put his avatar over his face the whole time.
I've shot guns before. It's enjoyable. Like, it's enjoyable to aim at things. I'm actually fairly good at it. But I am never going to own one.
No, I totally get that.
I feel like
there's a reason why I don't have one in here. I mean, that's because there was a time a couple of years ago where I really did not trust myself around one, so I got it out of the house.
Yeah. So, what else are we going to talk about?
Terry Gilliam, I think.
Okay, well, we can go ahead and I guess this Terry Gilliam article. One neat.
He is my favorite lesbian.
Oh, what?
He called him a lesbian.
Yeah.
He is a big, beautiful lesbian of color. Thank you very much.
It's a popular new defense.
Oh, this thing. I saw that. Isn't he like the Monty Python dude?
Yes.
Specifically, he's the animator. He's the one that made the aesthetic of Monty Python. He rarely appeared on screen. Mostly, he just did all of their filler transition animation. And then he transitioned into being a director. Some of them are very good, and some of them are, well, they're all really weird, but like Brazil is amazing. Baron Munchausen is kind of strange, and
I liked that when I was a little kid.
Which one, Baron Munchausen?
Yeah, I didn't like.
Yeah,
I don't like Brazil. I hate Brazil. Brazil's
It's
a horrible
dark.
movie.
I really liked it.
I don't
It's
like
very.
movies that are extraordinarily boring at this point in my life.
Have you ever read Kafka?
A little bit, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I grew up reading Kafka, so for me it was a big treat. But yes, it's a divisive movie. I like the overall style of it, and I like the themes. But yes, it's not for everyone. That is for sure.
It's
I think
definitely slow. Like we can all admit that it's slow, right?
Oh yes, it is a quite slow.
Yeah, it was
which
slow.
is
I liked it.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up watching like Bergman films, so I mean, compared to a Bergman film, it's like a roller coaster of action and emotion. He also
I used to watch lots of slow movies when I was younger because I fucking worked at Landmark Theaters, so I could see all the indie movies for free, and it was horrifically, what's the word? There was a lot of horrifically boring movies that I felt compelled to watch because I was like, I'm going to be a director when I get older, blah, blah, blah. And so I watched like everything that was ever nominated for an Academy Award until I just couldn't do it anymore. And I hate slow things now because ultimately the type of writer I am is very plot oriented. And that's the kind of thing I want. Like, give me some fucking Pulp Fiction. Don't give me no fucking, I don't know, Secrets and Lies or whatever.
Some slow movies can be incredibly good, but it's an art form, and I think a lot of people think that they're good at doing it, and they're not. Like you definitely have to. There's a good way to make a slow movie, and then there's the rest of indie films, which
there's a few. There are a few that I kind of
I can only think of a couple of those. The Three Colors trilogy I really liked. I think they ended up doing it quite well, though I can't think of the director's name.
He's Polish. It's unpronounceable. I liked Red. I liked Blue.
Blue was my favorite.
Yeah, I didn't really. Red was okay, and I just couldn't get into White.
White, I think, was hilarious. I mean, it was just the most god-awful black comedy that I ever saw. I mean,
I'll have to rewatch it.
It was brilliant.
I think I fell asleep during it because that was, yeah.
I mean, smuggling himself into his home country and then, getting the suitcase that he was smuggled in stolen while he was in it and then, beating the hell out of and left in a garbage dump. I mean, that's like, welcome home, fucker.
You know what? I must not have actually seen it. I must have thought I watched it because I don't remember that at all.
Oh, no, it's good. I mean, that was just a minor part, and it's great.
Guys, let's not talk too much about any one specific movie in case people have not actually watched it. Like myself. Let's talk about the article.
Yes. That's how you know our cat's gay is on the stream, because my superpower is derailing the conversation.
So,
all right, so who's going to read?
Well, actually, before we read the actual article, one thing I wanted to point out was earlier this year, same duder had gotten into some hot water over his comments on Me Too, which I thought were pretty woke as hell and pretty fucking awesome.
What were those? Let's look at them. I'm kind of more interested in that.
Yeah, what he said was, it's like when mob rule takes over, the mob's out there, they're carrying their torches, and they're going to burn down Frankenstein's castle. It's crazy how simplified things are becoming. Like this is the spicy kind of stuff. That's yeah, he also mentioned Harvey opened the door for a few people, and with Harvey, that's the price you pay. So he's kind of candid about the whole Harvey Weinstein situation too, which is frankly the correct position. So
he also spoke up for Matt Damon too. Remember, Matt Damon got into some shit for saying, some things are a little more creepy than others. It's not all on equal footing. Remember when that happened?
I do. I remember rolling my eyes then, and now my eyes have actually gone. My eyes have completely inverted. I'm legally blind now because they've rolled so far back. Yeah, I mean, I know we're all gonna keep talking about Me Too, and I
think I got the picture about this. I think maybe we could go back to the new thing just to.
Yeah, just the reason that's important is because it's to realize this is a double down. Like this black lesbian comment, like it's kind of like mundane. I was like, oh, haha, funny. But when you realize like that broader context, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually kind of chest haired. This is kind of awesome.
Well, we all knew this
I'll
was
read, or someone else want to read?
Let's read in unison.
Let's all read together at the
Well,
same
we're not
time, okay?
Hey, I refuse to
one,
be the
Turn to
board.
page 83 in your hymnals. Okay, fine. I'll read the damn thing.
Or we
course,
can
I'll have you
rotate sentence by sentence.
Let's switch between words.
And languages.
So
Okay, Farrell read. Yeah, so
Okay.
Farrell read.
I'm illiterate. Actually, I need you to scroll down.
Okay.
Is it Gilliam or Gilliam?
Gilliam.
Okay. Terry Gilliam has responded to the BBC diversity debate, which referenced Monty Python by saying, "I tell the world now I'm a black lesbian." Gilliam was commenting on the row over diversity triggered by the BBC's unveiling of its new comedy programming, announced in June, at which the BBC's controller of comedy commissioning Shane Allen emphasized the corporation's commitment to the stories that haven't been told and the voices we haven't yet heard. In response to a question about Monty Python's Flying Circus, Allen said, "If you're going to assemble a team now, it's not going to be 6 Oxbridge white blokes. It's going to be a diverse range of people who reflect the modern world." You don't need me to break or go on?
Just go.
All right. Speaking at a press conference at the Karlovy Vary Film Festival, tell me I read that right, where he was presenting his new film, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Gilliam said, "It made me cry. The idea that no longer 6 white Oxbridge men can make a comedy show. Now we need one of this, one of that, everybody represented. This is bullshit. I no longer want to be a white male. I don't want to be blamed for everything wrong with the world. I tell the world now that I'm a black lesbian. My name is Loretta." Oh my God, love the reference. "And I'm a BLT, a black lesbian in transition." Okay, so do you guys know about Loretta?
Yeah, at
and the
first
Monty
I thought he was
Python
doing some
movies?
Gigtown shit by leaving the G off. But
No, Loretta is in the Life of Brian. That was one of the Monty Python movies.
Oh my
One of the
God,
guys,
that's right.
Stan, decides that he wants to be a woman so he can have babies, and he wants everyone to call him Loretta. So, okay, that's where that came from. Okay, going back to it. He added,
it came from
Alan's-
somewhere real.
Yes, you don't get much realer than that. Alan's statement made me so angry. All of us so angry. Comedy is not assembled. It's not like putting together a boy band where you put together one of this, one of that, everyone is represented. Gilliam follows fellow Python member John Cleese's angry response to Alan's comment, who tweeted, "Unfair. We were remarkably diverse for our time. We had 3 grammar school boys, 1 a poof, and Gilliam, though not exactly black, was a Yank, and no slave owners." Gilliam has previously attracted controversy for his comments on the Me Too campaign, likening it to mob rule and saying, "It's crazy how simplified things are becoming." And I'm not going to show for the Guardian, so anything after that's on you.
Yeah, if you want, chat, if you want to go to their Patreon or whatever the fuck they've set up, you can do that on your own time. Fuck their advertising. They're not even getting my AdSense on this. I have ad blocker up.
Oh, you nasty hoe.
By the way, the Gaytriarchy also has no slave owners. Thank you very much. Put that on a little badge.
We could have slaves, but they would be more the leather variety and less the bought in Africa variety.
Well, I'm not thinking so much the leather variety. I'm just thinking, do the damn dishes for me variety.
I thought that's what children were for. I mean, that's why my grandpa had 6. Or he had 7. Never mind.
Do you figure out what causes that?
That is a lot of children.
Well, they were spaced out to the point where he basically had servants from the time he was like 30 to like the time he was in his 60s.
I really can't say a thing about that. I come from a very large family.
But yeah, Terry Gilliam is like notorious BIG. Like he is hardcore awesome. I mean, not like every single one of his movies without the Partheners, but damn, he got some brass on him, I will say. But yeah, it's hilarious how like England's legacy has been for the last 30 years, just making these incredibly bright and irreverent comedies. Like that was their national export, someone was saying. And now they're so busy trying to deconstruct everything that made them great. It's just sad.
Yes, it is.
Anyone here who hasn't seen Monty Python, don't be ashamed. Just go back and watch them all. Watch the series. The series is amazing. The Holy Grail, the Meaning of Life, the Life of Brian. They're all the Life of Brian. You won't get it if you don't have a cursory understanding of Judeo-Christian religion. Like half the jokes won't make any sense if you haven't even read like a portion of the Bible, or at least know people who do, or history. But like most things with Monty Python, there's the slapstick level, and then there's like the really bizarre, hyper intellectual stuff simmering beneath. It's definitely worth a watch.
And just because he told me to do it, cats, I won't now.
Yeah, well then you're depriving yourself of all kinds of gratification.
Yeah, but he gets off on depriving himself. It's really sick.
Yeah. Oh well, he is. You grew up Catholic, didn't you? Because that's isn't that the whole deal? Wanting something and
my family gave up on the Catholicism right around the time I was born.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of funny with The Life of Brian. I used to watch that. Now, keep in mind, I used to work for the church many, many, many years ago, and that used to be me and our parish priest, who was a very brilliant man and a good friend of mine. We used to watch The Life of Brian every Sunday right before Easter, just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit.
Oh my God!
He insisted that was our ritual.
That is one of the most. Have you ever seen it, Prince?
I've seen the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. Yeah, that's what everyone said. It is amazing. I think it's in many ways it's their funniest movie. I think that the Meaning of Life is their most polished movie, and I think The Life of Brian is their most eccentric movie. But you really should see all three. They are quite amazing. Each one is completely different than the other.
Absolutely.
I think some people think The Life of Brian is the least funny, but that's only if you don't, like I said, again, if you have no religious education, and I don't mean that in a snobby way, I literally mean if you don't know very much about Christian, Jewish, like history and ritual, a lot of the jokes just won't make much sense. But,
of course, then again, the Judean People's Front and the other splinter groups are a lot like the left.
It's true.
Our enemies, the People's Front of Judea? No.
They're arguing about which splinter group they belong to. But my favorite.
Which one are we?
No, we per Prince's instructions, we won't have too many spoilers. But I'm gonna say my one thing. My favorite part of the movie is where Brian gets caught scrolling anti-Roman propaganda in Latin by the Roman centurion, and rather than punishing him for the anti-Roman propaganda, the centurion punishes him for conjugating the Latin incorrectly and makes him write it 100 times.
And what have you been telling him?
I will say though, the fact that they had in the movie Freaks and Geeks, the geeks were really into Monty Python. It made me really want to watch all Monty Python.
I think Monty Python.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that everyone, well, not everyone, but like anyone who enjoys intellectual comedy, and again, I don't mean this as some if you're an intellectual, because it's incredibly silly stuff. But I mean is if you like comedy that has many, many different levels and is dependent on just bizarre, really intricate humor, it's something that you will enjoy, because there's nothing else like it. No one has ever made anything like it, and I really don't think anyone ever will, honestly. It was just this bizarre combination of Cambridge, Oxford, really smart guys getting together, taking a lot of drugs, and making absolutely surreal and bizarre skits, half the time with them dressed up as old British women. Because, the British are really good at that.
I think the closest that I've seen to anything even remotely like it wasn't even acted. It was it was written. It was the works of Terry Pratchett. If you like Pratchett, you will definitely like Python.
Yeah, you know what? I never thought to make that connection, but they are very similar. Not, I think the Pythoners were definitely a lot filthier than Pratchett, and a lot more. But they were the masters of non sequitur, and just like the complete absurd.
What did Pratchett write again? Because I know the name, but I just don't remember what she.
He had several series, but the Discworld series is probably the most famous.
Oh yeah, I tried reading that. It bored the crap out of me.
Oh really?
There's a lot of them. I watched the. I first learned of Terry Pratchett by watching I accidentally came across it on YouTube. The BBC did. On YouTube they made an animated version of the Weird Sisters from years ago, and
that was the first of his books that I'd read.
I'll tell you this, I loved it so much. I watched it 3 times, and then I bought the audiobook. And what's amazing is that the animation is ghastly, absolutely horrid, but the voice acting is amazing, and it's almost completely 100% accurate to the book. Like, there's very little left out of it. But so that is a good place to start. Like I like that. I haven't listened to any of his other ones yet, but
I like his stories about the wizards because it's basically university life that he's poking fun at.
Mm-hmm.
In his view, the university was not to expand or develop knowledge or anything like that. It was to contain it from the outside world.
Yeah, I could see that. And
of course, the carryover that he does with quantum physics makes it even funnier if you know anything about that.
Yeah, like I said, I've only read the Weird Sisters, which I really enjoyed, but I can't speak to the broader au revoir of his work.
Oh, you have an assignment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm busy.
You guys, let's stop talking like nerding out about stuff. Let's talk about something more universal to the Gaytriarchy type gay audience. Because I don't know about a lot of the things that we're talking about, and I imagine that some of the people feel similarly. So
we might need like a separate nerdcast, the same way that like Honey Badger Radio did in the early days, to like get it out of our system.
Oh, that'd be awesome if we had a nerdcast.
Anyways,
give us something gay to talk about.
We have this crap that I just pulled up, and I did click on this racist whatever group because that just looked interesting. I don't know. This came through my Facebook feed. What is it? Apparently, we're getting our marriages are getting counted in the census now. I guess.
Okay. Wait, racist Facebook group. Muscle Bears bans all blacks and Asians.
Of course, we're reading that one. You want to read it? Let's just go to it now. This is just hey.
I don't. Let's see what really happened.
Yeah.
Or like it's like a group of like 30 people or something like.
Okay, I'll read this. A public Facebook group for gay men is under fire for openly discriminating against people of color. San Diego Gay and Lesbian News reports. Muscle Bear is a public Facebook group for white guys who are into hairy, white, muscular men with nearly 20,000 white members. Okay, yeah, we get it. We get it, whatever the fuck news this is. When a person first tries to join, they are confronted with a series of questions/statements. Who are you from? Oh, where are you from? I thought that said, who are you from? That'd be weird. Anyway, the second, however, is if you are Asian or African, do not join the group because it will be you will be blocked from this group.
Wait, that doesn't sound like black or Asian. That sounds like foreign.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's keep reading, I guess.
Somebody in the chat said no Q-tips allowed.
True.
Yeah. So remember we talked about it when we were coming up with the GigTown name, and we briefly said alt gay and said no, there are too many alts. Well, it sounds like someone actually did make an alt gay organization.
Alt gay.
Mm-hmm. Continue, please.
One member spoke up about the questionnaire. As a member, this makes us all appear to be racist by being complicit, wrote one member in the group. Just no one will address the matter. So if you know the admins, I'm asking people to reach out and ask why this has been added. And if it's not removed, I'm asking people to quit and report this group as hate speech.
Why not just quietly walk out the door?
Make your own group. It's not that hard.
That leaves the hate speech.
Oh my god. I have to rant and tell a little bit of a story because this fucking kid was the most irritating. Like, he's like actually maybe the most pathetic gay guy that I've ever met in my entire life, and if you can only imagine that. So like, he's not just like annoying, but like just blitheringly pathetic and completely non-self-aware. Like, he doesn't understand that the only reason that anybody's ever been nice to him ever in his entire life is because they feel sorry for him. Like, he has no concept of that, and I don't know how he would. He's kind of some sort of cross between like the Pillsbury Doughboy and like some sort of cartoon. What would be a good, like, he has these like really he looks like, I don't mean cute as in attractive. I mean cute as in if you made him into a cartoon, and
like a puppy.
Yeah, kind of, but he's like chubby and does not understand that he's not good looking. Like, I don't know.
So he looks like a baby.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking baby. Yeah, he looks like a fucking like 5'4" or 5'5". He's like fairly short and very like pigeon chested, you know, like he's never fucking worked out. And he's all like vegan and shit. So he went to my fucking college and lived in my dorm sophomore year, and of course this was like in the early 2000s, back when before social media was even a thing. So I was always like dating using planetout.com. That was how you got gay dates back.
I remember that.
Yeah. And he was on there and he tried to write me a message and I just ignored it because I'm like, this is the fucking kid that lives in my dorm. Like, I'm not, what the fuck do I even say? So I'll just...
That's awkward.
Yeah. And then he brought it up saying like, oh, I wrote you, but you didn't write me back. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't get it. You know, like, what was I fucking supposed to say? So
You're gross.
He was really pathetic in that kind of way. Oh, and no, the other funny thing was that for Halloween, he decided that he was going to do some sort of like he had been watching Queer as Folk and he wanted to be like the guys in Queer as Folk. So he got some like gold, Daisy Duke type like shiny shorts and then put little angel wings on and had his shirt off, except for he was like this little like chubby Pillsbury Doughboy thing, and it was like actually kind of sad at that time.
He was a puff. He was a
no. It's a full example of Farrell's second rule. A person's willingness to show it all off is inversely proportional to everyone else's willingness to see it.
Well, what I think that this really states, like his just attitude, like he would be a very, very interesting case study. I'm sure that he was raised around a bunch of, you know, far leftist fucking, because I'm pretty sure he was from the West Coast, and he was raised around people that never once, you know, were honest with him about how you have to actually work to achieve things, and that, you know,
can be interesting,
and that like attractive guys are not interested in unattractive guys, and if you want to make yourself more attractive, you can. It's not impossible. Like, even if you have a really, really ugly face, there's some things that you can do to make yourself more attractive. And I honestly don't know entirely for sure that he would be ugly if he had, you know, played his cards a little bit better, but he didn't. He just was so completely non-self-aware, and he acted really sweet at that time. But what happened is I ended up somehow reconnecting with him when I lived in San Francisco. He found me on Facebook, and he was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he added me on Facebook. I don't know why. Oh, I didn't realize it was him. It had something to do with something else, and then I figured it out. I was like, oh my god, that was a kid. And he was a gender fluid.
Oh,
so he would and in the worst possible way, where he would mostly go around dressed up like a woman because, of course, people treat him better that way. Because, you know, like as a gay dude, he's just like really fucking pathetic and like everybody's kind of embarrassed by him. But like if people actually think that he's like actually just like a slightly chubby little woman, then people are nice to him because female privilege, obviously. But he, you know, can't actually get any dates like ever that way. So occasionally he'll go back to dressing like a guy to try to have sex. And
it doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, and he got really, really, really into the intersectional stuff. Like he was thinking in his little head, finally the weak are rising up and we will be on top. You know, like he was very clearly like that. And he got mad at me for just like he tried to get in arguments with me over nothing, like literally nothing, like me getting into an argument with a black person where the black person was just objectively wrong about something, and he's like, I don't see why you keep arguing with minorities. I think you must have a problem with minorities. You know, like stupid shit like that. So it didn't take long for us to end up not being friends on Facebook anymore. But before that happened, one of the greatest things in the universe, just in terms of like funny things that have happened, and this is one of the only times that I ever kind of like apologized to SJWs, and it turned out to be a mistake because he was just he didn't care at all. Like he thought he took it as an admittance, like as me admitting that I was I'll just say what happened. He apparently he went to some sort of sex party. I guess he kind of knew the guy who organized it from something or another, and maybe the guy, you know, kind of like myself, thought that he was harmless, you know, because he always acted like he was kind of sweet, but he's actually just fucking, you know, and I think maybe he really did actually used to be sweet, but after, you know, 15 years or so of complete and utter constant rejection, he grew bitter and vengeful, and now has deep spite towards gay men or something. So he went to this sex party, and like I guess most of the guys there were hot and he wasn't, and so he was like mad, and so he tried to like have some. So I wasn't there, but you know, he writes out a big long post. He's like, I can't believe how upset I am right now. And so he tells the whole story. He writes in the post, and he says that when I got there, everybody there was either, you know, sort of more of the muscle bear or thin type, you know, style. And so I pulled the organizer aside, who is somebody that I kind of knew and figured that we were friends. And I asked him if maybe he would take extra efforts towards ensuring that people of various different body types like of my own, would be invited next time so that there would be more diversity of body types. And he just didn't really answer me all that well. And like, I felt really alienated. And then I got home and he had deleted me on Facebook. And I just like, oh my God. So I don't know what I should do. What an asshole, right? One of the things I noticed was that there was people there using poppers, and it's supposed to be a space that doesn't have any drugs. And so I'm thinking I should tell. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. So
Wow.
you're mad because you're unattractive and you're trying to ruin the party just by any means necessary. Like that's it. You're
Antifa.
Yeah.
Affirmative action.
That was a little bit of a side, but side point, but it reminded me of like, I'm sure that somehow this reminded me of that, and I have never told that story, and I figured it was a good story to tell.
It is a good story.
Well, what gets me is it's a pretty universal story, because I think we all have a friend that's like that. I know I certainly have one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of sad.
It is sad because you have two choices, I think, when At some point, we all feel pathetic because at some point, we'll all be exposed to situations and circumstances that highlight our inadequacies because, you know, we all have them. And you can either look internally and find a new solution, you know, and, you know, grow from it, or you can resist that impulse and do the easier thing and just lash out and blame everyone else so that you don't have to acknowledge that you are to blame. I'll share one of my own stories that I shared on Discord with, I don't know if I told you, Bacon, or someone has probably heard this before, but I'm gonna say. So I was at Steamworks semi recently. Well, actually, no, it wasn't that recently because I've been working. But anyway, not that long ago, I was at Steamworks. And you never know what you're going to get there. Sometimes people are really cool, and sometimes there's no one there, and sometimes people are just assholes. That's just how it is. And they have this dais where you can, you know, put your goods out, and someone can help themselves to it or not. And I went up there at one point, and this guy who was okay, good looking, like I don't know, maybe 30 or something like that. White guy, just, yeah, he's okay. Whatever. He's down in the pit. So you like, and he looked and he, you know, he turned away with this very kind of nose up in the air, kind of whatever, like kind of snickered a little bit, like thinking like, oh, he's not big enough for me. I'm not, you know, I'm not a porn star, but I'm certainly not, you know, a Korean, like, you know, gherkin or anything like that, but whatever. So I know that if that had happened to me like a couple of years ago, I would have been deeply wounded because that's the natural response to when someone kind of semi-publicly shames you. However, I have grown as a person in my own twisted way, and my response was to laugh uncontrollably. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's not enough for you. and I moved on. And you know what? I felt fine. But so you know, you can't. There are all kinds of ways to deal with when people put you in uncomfortable situations. And personally, these days, I find it much better to just reflect. It's like, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but don't let the shitty people define the game for you.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember why I brought up my story, which was that Farrell had said simply that, why don't you just walk away with your dignity? Like, you don't have to be there if you feel like it's exclusionary of you. Okay. You know, like, what are you supposed to, like, force them to, like, include you? Like, why would you want to? You know, why would you want to be in a situation where you had, yeah, even if you could, which you can't, you know, like,
he probably wouldn't be happy with the results anyway.
Isn't the world going to be really, really, really fucking awkward in a few years when a bunch of people start admitting that they dated a trans person simply because they felt obligated to, because the trans person guilted them into it? Like,
it's a hashtag in the making.
I'm sure that I must have brought this up before, but it's like, you know, like, what's the word? I don't want to, because I wouldn't say that I pressured, because I didn't pressure straight guys into, like, doing anything with me. I've had straight guys pursue me because they thought that maybe they could, like, be bi or whatever. And I was particularly, when I was young, really young, like, not really so much past the age of maybe 25, but when I was in my early 20s and teenage years, I was kind of girly looking. Like, I just had a fairly pretty face to me, and I was very, very skinny at that time. And
saying you had a pretty mouth? Okay, go ahead.
I don't even know what that means. What's that a reference to?
It's a quote from some movie. I think that was a reference to prison rape.
Oh yeah, Deliverance. Okay.
Squeal like a pig.
That movie is horrible. I hate it.
I know. Me too.
Dude, one time in mock trial, the judge said I was like the guy from Deliverance. They were like, dude, you were fucking scary. Like,
that movie it's weird. It's just like a very bizarre movie. Anyhow, I though the banjo is cool. I like the banjo part. But there were times in which it was like it was the straight guy's idea to like hook up with me, and then like he got all weird about it afterwards once he realized that he couldn't really get into it and that he wasn't gonna like actually be bi, and it was a bad idea. And then he was the one that got like more weird about it than I did, and I didn't even fucking pressure him. But we know that there are fucking transgender people that totally pressure people and being like, well, I don't mean, just because I have the wrong key doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to open your door, man. Like fucking Chase Monroe, that transgender male who is a YouTuber. He has over 100,000 subscribers. And he's gay. And so he's trying to have sex with gay men, and he tries to like be a top sometimes. Like he's trying to and say that gay men are transphobic because we don't want to be fucked with strap-ons. And it's like, okay, there's like 5 reasons that we probably don't want to be fucked with strap-ons, and I'm going to give you the biggest one. The biggest reason is because we have penises, and sometimes we stick our, like I would say the vast majority of gay guys have at least tried topping and bottoming. It's not like somebody's only a bottom ever. And the thing is about it is that when you stick your dick in somebody's butt, you get to feel with the head of your penis whether it's about to relax or if it's stiff. And if it's stiff and you try to shove your dick in, it will hurt them. And that's the same way when it's you. Like if somebody rams something in you while you're not relaxed, it hurts. And so if somebody can't feel, like with it, if they have like a plastic thing and that's all, and they can't feel the butthole for the level of elasticity, then it's potentially going to hurt. And so, but Chase doesn't care. According to him, if you don't want to get fucked with his little strap on, you are transphobic. And he makes entire videos whining about that for like, his audience of over 100,000 people. And it's really embarrassing because it's like, well, what happens when people start thinking that it's a good idea to actually start having sex with trans guys because of fucking Chase whining, and then they realize that they wish that they didn't do it, and then they're really angry about it later, and then the trans guy realizes, holy shit, these gay guys that I fucked with a strap on didn't actually want to have sex with me. I feel like a horrible person.
Yeah.
Like, what about that?
It's going to be hashtag me too, gay version.
I don't know when they're going to figure out though. Whining does not fuckable make.
Yeah. Or at least, like what you said about, a key for every lock. Sometimes it's because you have a key and not a lock. A straight guy doesn't want another key in the equation.
It's like that's the same kind of logic as when at those deprogramming camps where they say like, well, if you close your eyes, like at a girl is sucking your dick, it's no different than if a guy is doing it. Well, it's like, okay, maybe physically it's the same, but psychologically,
I don't know. I kind of think her beard's softer.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like women are just objectively not as good at oral sex as gay guys because we actually like to do it usually. When I was in the closet, I did receive some oral sex from women, and they were pretty much universally bad at it. I know that was just my experience. Some women are very good at it, but just as a general rule, women don't seem to generally want to perform oral sex. Whereas with gay guys, there's at least a 50% chance that it's going to happen at any given time, at any given place, sometimes multiple times a day.
But Cats, how dare you call it conversion therapy? It's just called being a nice person, You gotta, God, I can't wait until someone like Riley Dennis is like, yeah, let's have fuck a tranny day be put on the empowerment calendar.
It's coming. Oh, speaking of power, Prince. One thing I was going to say about Chase, people like Chase, I don't think they even think of sex as a pleasurable activity. I think it's all just a social construct to them. It's all about.
I can see what you're
power
saying.
Dynamics.
Power.
Yeah, I can see completely being removed from any sort of actual pleasure, like, and it's just a game.
Yeah,
because I watched the video where he talked about topping, like where he topped a cis man, and nothing. There was in the whole description, from what I can remember, I don't remember him ever talking about how it felt, if the other person enjoyed it. It was just about how it felt psychologically for him to be in that position. And there's something deeply disturbing about that. I mean, yes, there's always a psychological component. Is someone cooking? What is going on?
Oh, sorry. I just kicked something under my desk.
Oh, okay. There's always a psychological component to sex. There's always, like we all have kinks and turn-ons and deep Freudian problems because we saw our mothers in their underwear when we were 3 or something like that. But, when that's the whole deal, when you literally, if that's the whole point of being in a person, being physical with the person, you don't need pronouns, you don't need sex, you need therapy and psychotropic medication.
But he had power over a cis man cats. That's all that matters to him.
Oh my god, it's like that fucking girl who, in my most recent hate speech strike, the one who is, I use her as the example of a female that claims to be non-binary who is who's just a total cunt. The reason that I noticed her on Facebook was because some gay guy who's racial minority posted some fucking typical regressive gay article about racial dating preferences and white guys are all bad because they don't date him enough or something, which is weird because he actually always does get white guy boyfriends. I don't
probably because he makes them feel guilty.
No, not even. He just never has a problem dating white guys. I don't know. But he wants more. I guess I don't know. So he posts some stupid article like that, and a bunch of people start kind of arguing. Of course, there's a few people that are like, yeah, you're right, you're woke, and then there's a few white guys who are arguing with him, but they're not saying anything particularly constructive. They're just like, this is so dumb. People can't choose who they're attracted to. Duh. And I'm
and they're kind of afraid to make a cogent argument about it because you know how it goes. People start swinging the racism hammer.
Well, they weren't afraid to say something. They weren't afraid to say an argument. They just haven't been.
They weren't very good at it.
Yeah, they weren't very good at it. And some of those guys who say things like that are just now really being exposed to the SJWs. People really, really love to believe that we've all that everybody has encountered them, blah 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 blah. But that's not true. There are still people being converted into being SJWs as we speak.
My aunts.
Yeah. So, what happened is that
is someone hyperventilating?
No.
Okay, it stopped now. I was hearing.
Not me. I'm muted.
I heard the. I'm sorry. I was just hearing the weird.
Fapping.
Okay, I was just hearing the weirdest noise in the background, but I'll shut up now.
Oh no, it's me. I'm probably moving around. I just swatted down to pick something up, and when you get old like me, you kind of start wheezing and stuff over stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
So carry on.
Much.
Okay, it's autoerotic asphyxiation. All right.
Wait, what was I even just talking about?
The dumb
SJWs and your black friend who had a SJW article.
So there was this girl, and she posted. But wait, why was I talking about this? That's the better question.
Chase topping guys.
Yes, I remember now. Thank you. So the thing was that this girl, there's some guys are arguing back and forth about blah 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 blah, and then this fucking girl shows up to say, and granted, it's only gay guys, right? This person that I know only knows gay guys, pretty much, right? And here's this girl, and she says, "Men are so terrible." It's that's it. That's her comment, and which is okay, that's the last thing you ever should say to a timeline full of gay guys, but of course they just act like that's normal, because
unfortunately it is at this point for people to say that.
And that just shows the level of pure Stockholm syndrome that gay guys have. A woman can just come in and be like, oh, by the way, you guys are all horrible for being male. And they're like, yeah, we know.
We're sorry.
Yeah, or something. And it's like, you don't have to fucking let this bitch get away with this shit. So some people started arguing with her, and then somebody was like, why? I don't even see why you're talking, like something like,
why are you even in this thread?
Why are you even in this thread, white girl? Nobody here is going to date you. And then, of course, instead of saying, well, okay, I guess you have a point, but gay guys who won't date black guys and Asian guys are kind of racist, so screw them, or so, like that's what she should have done in that situation. But of course, she couldn't quit while she was ahead. She had to say, "Did you just called me girl? You're transphobic because I'm non-binary," and use it as an excuse to start coming after that specific guy. And then some other guy joined in and started arguing against her too, and like she ended up going away. But ultimately, like, it was like, this is a fucking crazy bitch. Like, what type of person actually thinks that she should be able to get away with this type of behavior? So I had to like Facebook stalk her a little bit, and I looked, and of course she's an actual
naturally.
Well, so I looked at like who she is, and she's like some sort of kinky sadomasochist. She's a sadist, and she has a lot of pictures of like women having men tied up and the women like whipping them and things like that. Like
she's a dominatrix.
I doubt that she actually is.
But she wants to be.
Yeah, like she's into that. And it was like, oh, surprise, surprise. Imagine my shock.
She's one of those people that's trying to add K to LGBTQIA. The people that are trying to say kink is a form of sexuality in of itself.
Oh, yeah. Q-tip. Mm-hmm. I love that acronym.
Well, Q-tip is all of the letters that they want to be in a new acronym. Like, it's like let's take the worst out of the bigger acronym, and then like create our new little faction, our new little separatist movement.
I don't even think it's that. It's more like the worst has mutated, and now they're trying to like reborg everything. I don't know. I think of it more as an intersectional reset button rather than a new thing.
It's a streamlining process because they've realized that the old terminology, old quote unquote, and it doesn't fit with with gender theory, because homosexual, bisexual, those all imply sexual dimorphic, binary, man and woman, two choices, like gay or straight or bi. But if you want to just say that gender and sexuality is all this fluid continuum, then it's easy. If you just consolidate it all into queer, and then they added trans and I don't know why people of color is a separate category from all of that. Well, I know why. It's incredibly stupid, but basically, yeah, it's queer and trans, and then people of color just for virtue signaling.
Mm-hmm. And intersex. Don't forget that they're the I in Q-tip.
If they add, they should totally add kink though, because then it can be Q-tick.
Q-tick. Anyways, want to find out if this group's actually racist or is someone just being a dick?
Yeah, let's find out.
Okay. Oh, that's it. It's literally, they just showed a picture. We don't even get they got me all hard and got me a mental boner, and then just showed a picture and are like, yeah, fuck you, we're not giving you anything more.
Because that's how quality journalism works.
Yeah, they just like gave me a hate boner and then like killed it. God fucking damn it.
Well, you know what it is? It's like when you go to Pornhub and they show you the trailer for the porno, but then like you have to actually sign up for the service, and you realize you're not going to pay $50 for it, so you're just stuck with that trailer.
Yeah. Anyways, in other stupid news, apparently some stupid bitch was pissed off that the hate speech rules on Facebook threw her in Facebook jail for 3 days. That was another thing I found. And all I'm going to say on this is, I know, she got threatened for doxing and slurs and whatnot. But if this moron, if she's one of those ones that wanted the hate speech rules, she fucking deserves getting a 3-day suspension.
She was for a hyperbolic statement. What is it again?
She called men trash or something, and someone reported her for it.
Oh, I've never gotten the opportunity to do that.
Didn't that happen a while ago?
No, this apparently happened on June 30th of this year.
Oh,
actually,
I gotta say, live by the sword.
I need to start remembering to report people who say things because I probably could have reported that woman who said men are so horrible. Like maybe I could have. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it.
But isn't it profoundly hypocritical for us to use policies that we find
No, it's
objectionable?
not. I actually
it's
made
not.
an entire video about it.
Oh,
It's really not. If
I'll have to watch that.
if they advocated for the making of the sword, they deserve to die by the sword. That's
and so that
Thank
they
you.
either get rid of the sword or so that the entire platform is sunk and we can have a better platform.
I guess that makes sense, because even if you don't agree, I don't particularly agree with a lot of Title IX gender policies, but so in theory, if we were strictly principled, then the guy that's using Title IX to get the women-only organizations at Yale shut down, in the strictest principle sense, he would be wrong, except he's doing it as a way to highlight how stupid and wrong that policy is. So I take it back. That is
It's like if these things are going to exist and they are going to be weaponized selectively, against one group, and it turns out that we can potentially use them against others groups as a way of fighting back, we would be fools not to until ideally in a perfect world, if our goal is stating that we would like these rules to end. I don't know about Title IX necessarily, but the hate speech thing, I don't think that there should be rules against hate speech. I just don't really.
There's no such thing as hate speech. There's just speech.
Yeah.
There's no objective way to. It's not like when you use hate speech that it emits a form of radiation that can be measured as a distinctive thing. It's subjective.
But wouldn't it be wonderful if you could?
Oh my God, yes. If we actually a virus is released into the world that causes SJWs or anyone, whenever you're being a hypocrite, it causes you to emit a gas.
There goes Ben Shapiro's career.
You don't like Ben Shapiro?
Not really. I don't like that he's
kind of cute.
He's
cute.
He's fuckable, but I don't like how people react to him, or at least his supporters act like, oh, he's the next best thing. It's like, dude, he just literally contradicted himself a minute ago. In videos, you can see that periodically. It's like, God.
I think he's a very smart man but there's always going to be a certain basic contradiction in Ben Shapiro, because he's the profoundly logical man that can win virtually any argument that he gets into because he's a lawyer. However, there's a basic contradiction between being an incredibly smart man who can use logic to destroy a person's argument, yet he wears a hat because God told him to in a book 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I love anyone who knows me knows that I love me some Jewish men. And I think Judaism is a interesting and beautiful religion, and I support Israel and all that. However, there's always going to be a certain, call it intellectual tension in his arguments. I don't agree with a lot of his more moralistic stances. Obviously, as a gay person, I don't particularly agree with his assessment of us and our goodness or lack thereof. However, I will give what I like about Ben Shapiro is that he at least always attempts to be consistent within his own ethical system. And I like that he can separate his morals from his ethics. He can treat someone well, even if he doesn't agree with the way they live their life, which is, in theory, what the best possible way for a religious person to live, or really anyone.
It's really fun to watch him twist himself into a pretzel trying to justify that. I remember I was watching one of his stances on gay marriage, and it's like,
is it a pretzel or matzo?
I don't whatever.
Well, matzahs are flat.
Oh,
but anyways, my point was, he was like, we shouldn't have gay marriage because we should discriminate against any type of relationship, especially one that can produce children. It's like, okay, it's so discriminate against one group because kids. just think of the children? I mean, do we have to church lady this?
The way I see it is, I've kind of gotten to the point now where I used to be very kind of, I won't call it puritanical, but I used to be very much like, I like this person until I find something that I don't agree with, and then I can't have anything to do with them because I was very left. And I decided, no, I can't do that. Life is too short. So I just enjoy people for who they are and what I like out of it, and if I disagree with them on some level, like then,
yeah, I understand what you're saying. Ben does have some good things about him, and I can enjoy him. But what Bacon said is actually true, and I want to get back to what he just said about gay marriage. Ben Shapiro, his way of dealing with the gay marriage question is to try to reframe the question. So.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, but it's actually really slimy and intellectually dishonest the way he does it. In terms
He's a lawyer.
Yeah,
that's the point.
I know, but it's really transparent, and I am a lawyer too, according to me. So I'm going to say why. So
nice. You identify as a lawyer.
Yeah. So the thing is that what he does is he says that he does this. Like he has his like list of 10 the 10 rules for how to argue with leftists, and one of the rules is it's like rule number 2 or 3 is fucking reframe their questions so that and what he says is he's like, so if somebody ever asks me why are you against gay marriage, I say, well, why are you against a child having a mom and a dad?
Yeah,
which is like so intellectually dishonest. It's like, okay, that's assuming that every marriage has children, which isn't even true with straight people. Second of all, like that's like saying the purpose of marriage is actually just to raise kids, which is debatable by itself, but it ignores there's already exceptions, like there's reasons why gay people want marriage. Mainly the only really good one is the next of kin thing. So
I'd say the big thing for me while I was pushing for it is divorce rights. Believe it or not, I ended up spending 10 years with a guy and building up a life with him, and I ended up walking out with nothing. So yeah, I think we do need the divorce rights. That was my angle for it.
Or I was watching his 10 rules thing. It's like the first one's character assassination effectively. The second one is, change to a subject you actually think you can win. Then it's debate. Then it's just be aggressive until you've basically gotten your opponent to shut up. I mean, it's really just 4 steps. I mean, 10 to me just seems a little bit more, I don't know, him trying to be more of a 10-step program rather than just being honest.
Yeah, I don't like that, and I've noticed him behaving kind of like that, and like sometimes he doesn't have to do that, and he can just debate people without using his little like 10 tricks that he pulls on people, but the fact that he has them and he's ready to do them, and and that he has been known to do these things, and he admits to it. It's just like, okay, no, like it only takes so long before people that shit catches up with you.
Yeah, and I know I don't know if I've ever really explained, like when I have like a air quotes debate with someone, I'm assuming you're here in good faith until you disprove me. As far as I'm concerned, Ben Shapiro will never be, because he's basically going to like just reframe the debate, slander you, and then just be aggressive until you shut up. It's like, I can't ever assume you're going to be debating or speaking in good faith if that's your tactic.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's a valid point.
I mean, and as far as I'm concerned, it's like, I don't care what you have to say beyond that, because you're just going to be aggressive until you default win, because your opponent's like, yeah, I have no reason to talk to you.
I'm not trying to be a one-trick pony on this, but I guess when it comes to Ben Shapiro, at the end of the day, like I have a default answer. He is a lawyer. Like that's just how they are. I think, and I know what you're saying.
But that's not entirely true, though.
Well,
it's really not.
It is the way that is how lawyers win. Not all lawyers, but a lawyer at the end of the day, aside from being someone who's very good at memorizing like bits of information,
I think that maybe a lawyer in like fucking Law and Order SVU is or something.
Well, I mean, I know some. I actually one of the people I used to take care of was a lawyer, so I got to learn a bit about that kind of lawyer mind. And I'm not trying to make a universal well, I guess I was, but Okay, but basically what I'm saying is like lawyerism at its heart is about being able to win an argument. And at a certain point, it doesn't. I don't believe that there is any real qualification.
But see, but this no. Okay, I want to stop you there.
Okay.
Lawyerism at its heart is based around being able to technically win an argument.
Yes.
What Ben Shapiro is doing, but what Ben Shapiro is doing there isn't even technically winning the argument. It's making, it's giving the impression to the audience that he's won the argument when half the time he actually didn't. He tricks everyone.
I can see that. And
that is kind of skeezy.
Yeah. And that is the difference. That is why at the end of the day, like I enjoy watching Ben Shapiro, but I don't think very much about what he says. Like on the same sort of spectrum of ideas as someone who I like a lot but I actually respect is Jordan Peterson, for instance. Like there are he's probably one of the smartest people that I am currently following right now. I don't agree with everything because I came from the Christian world and I know he's still in it, mind you, in a very weird kind of C.S. Lewis.
A little like where you can't pin him down. Even like Sam Harris has a really great. Sorry, but keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with his stance on certain things because I know about the Christian mind, but I respect him, and I think that his way of engaging in debate is entirely different than Ben Shapiro because he doesn't really use tricks. He just listens and then gives you very, really often unexpected answers. I think his greatest weapon is that he is the master of his own vocabulary. Every word, even when it's off the cuff, is just surgical and perfectly. He's able to express himself so precisely that it's almost impossible to twist or distort anything he says without him being able to shoot it down instantly. It's like, nope, clearly I didn't say that.
Yeah, he's been practicing that for a while. And one of the things he also does, which is a really, really, really good tactic if you're going, because okay, I think that there was a long period in which certain types of lawyers could do the, trickery type games and win and bamboozle people out of trick judges and juries and just other lawyers into thinking that they had the high ground when they really didn't. Sure, fine, but you can't trick everybody.
No,
and so you certainly can't with the internet. When there's millions and millions of users that can watch the clip again and pick it apart piece by piece. That type of trickery doesn't really get far. And so, Ben Shapiro, blatantly strawmanning people and then kind of bragging about it. That is not a very good tactic. And one of the things that Jordan Peterson does is he steelmans people instead, which is a much better tactic. If people are unfamiliar with the idea of steelmanning, somebody was recently talking about it, and I realized that it's something that I do a lot in my videos. I didn't even know the term for it, which is that when somebody is making an argument that you are opposed to, like some sort of feminist argument that I would be opposed to, instead of showing a poor example of them making it, try to come up with the best possible example of what they might be talking about and then debunk that. So if we were to, what's a feminist argument? Name a feminist argument.
Wage gap.
The wage gap. And it'd be okay, so it is actually true that in high-powered male-dominated fields such as computer science and engineering, there does have a tendency to be fewer females, and the females that work there do tend to get less promotions than the males. And first you admit to that fully and go and very precisely go into the numbers if you can, and then from there think about all of the different reasons why and start debunking why that actually is, and then be okay, so that is actually sort of technically true, but what can we actually do about that? Well, there's already all sorts of discrimination clauses in place, to the point where men are actively discriminated against at companies like Google, and yet still Google is underrepresented with females. We also definitely know that men are discriminated against at the university level. All the things that people have attempted to do to fight against this discrimination have been done, and things are still this bad. So, you know, like that would be an example of first steel manning the argument and then debunking it. And Jordan Peterson is a master of doing that. Like, he's able to like illustrate to the audience that he perfectly understands the arguments, usually better than the people do themselves, and then he goes on to debunk it at the same time.
Like the Kathy Newman interview is really where we see that at its best, because she tries to attack Jordan Peterson with the wage gap and with giving him traps to see if he'll, like, you know, take the bait and say something that she can attack.
Putting the absolute worst reading of what he said, you know, and turning it into something completely damning. Or
completely. Like,
Prince, I love this idea about steel manning. This is brilliant.
Mouthy Buddha was the first time I'd ever heard about that. He has a whole video about steel manning. I don't remember which one it is.
Mouthy Buddha's a really smart guy, actually. I want to talk to him.
He is.
About
his videos.
Look him up.
Oh, his videos are as someone who loves to edit. Oh my god, his videos give me such an editing.
Yeah, he's like
amazing.
He's like the steel. He's like the steel man ContraPoints. Like somebody who like actually, you know, puts together well edited, well lit, well shot videos that are like supposed to be intellectual, except for he's actually smart.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a fucking blithering moron like ContraPoints is.
No, if I had to use a word for ContraPoints, I'd use two words. I'd use self-indulgent pontificator. Like that's
So 2 or 3.
Well, there's a hyphen, so technically it's only 2. I hate you so much, Farrell.
And Mouthy Buddha hates. Well, I don't know about hates, but Mouthy Buddha is one of the literally the only other person who has noted the fact that the SJWs haven't gone away, but they have evolved into this like new crowd of people that are largely being ignored. And the person that he used he was talking to the Saints about this, like he was on the YouTube Saints a month or 2 ago, and they were like, what do you mean? And he's like those ContraPoints people, like there's these new ones that are like all of a sudden getting all this attention, and nobody's debunking them, and I don't know why. And I was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think part of that is it seems like people, I don't know if it's YouTube tweaking the algorithm or what, but it seems like
they sure are doing that.
Well,
that's one part of it.
Well, yes, but what I was going to say is I'm not sure if it's a YouTube thing or if it's just a fashion thing, but it seems like response videos have really fallen completely out of style. Like,
well, I think that people making videos at all has fallen out of style, and that largely there's some people who just like stream.
It's all they do all the time, and it gets really old. There are some streams that I watch, but they're usually just really silly streams, and I refuse to watch streams that have huge audiences, because then there's no point if I want to actually interact with the creator. Yeah. But I'm sorry, audience. I'm tired. My mind just completely drifted away.
I also just heard you groan. Cass, this is a PG-7 Christian stream. No fapping is allowed.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it's a good thing that you can't see me, because I actually am wearing, you know, head to toe pleather gear with like a mesh on the inside. I won't even tell you what the inside of it is, but yeah, I've got electrodes connected to my nipples, and it's connected to my USB. Like, it's a whole thing.
So what happens when your phone tries to synchronize with Bluetooth?
Then I finally come.
Oh God.
Wow.
I don't understand people that have these incredibly elaborate sexual practices. Like, at a certain point, it's like, doesn't it just get really distracting? it's like when you watch those pornos where people like where they're like the setup for the storyline is like 10 minutes long or something like that. It's like, okay, if this was an actual movie, this might be interesting, but these are not actors. These are just, these are meat performers that are just mouthing dialogue that they don't understand for about 5 minutes, like cue card to cue card, and it just takes me completely out of it.
They're not meat actors. They're the talent.
Well, they're talented, but not at reading dialogue.
Yeah, they're not there for the dialogue. They're there for the squishy bits.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's funny about porn actors is that, like, a lot of the time when they're like, hey, I noticed that you had some grammatical errors in your paper. Do you want to see me after class and we can talk about them? Okay. Like that kind of a thing. And it's like, wow, they're really, really bad actors. And then you hear the guy in a off-camera interview and he's just a flaming queen. And you're like, oh, all of his acting energy was put into not sounding totally gay.
Well, I guess in that sense, he is like a really good actor.
Well, I don't know if he's a really good actor, but like
good enough.
Wait, who was that gay porn star who tried to become a singer? I can't remember his name.
I'm trying to think of his name. Shit. One sec.
He was really hot. Let's see.
I don't know. I'm too busy fapping to my porn stars to even care what they do in their personal time.
Colton Ford.
I remember that.
Okay, we're thinking of different ones then.
I think there's a few of them that tried to do this. Well,
I'm sure it's happened more than once.
Yeah. Well, Colton Ford was actually really quite hot, and I am pretty sure he looks very, very masculine. Like he's a muscle bear type guy. And here we can. I'll find a picture.
I was thinking of Gus Maddox. My bad.
I'll find a. How about I send someone this picture and we
send it to Bacon.
Yeah, I will.
Send it to me.
Wait, if you're sending out smut,
No, it's just an underwear picture. It's nothing like because I don't want to show the Google image search because there's lots of dick in it.
Not unlike our personal lives.
So,
speak for yourself.
That's sad, Farrell.
Nah, not really.
Let's see. Although
I'm like incredibly picky. I brought this on my own damn self.
I'm definitely not. Although I've been so busy that I'm completely deprived right now. I have this extreme vitamin P deficiency.
So here, I sent the picture to our little group.
Our little friend.
Yeah. So you can see what. So somebody show it to the audience so that
will be me.
Okay.
Do it.
There, I did it.
So this is the guy that he tried to become a singer, and so like obviously look at him, he's a porn star, and you can only imagine what he probably is like in porn. Like he's like, hey, my pool has been getting rather cloudy. I think there must be something backed up in the drain. Maybe want to take a dip in there so we can, some shit like that. Like he would probably try like really hard to talk like a, but he is a fucking flaming queen, like the biggest fucking queen ever. And because there was a whole documentary made about his attempted occupational transition from being a porn star to an attempted singer, and it's actually a really fucking funny movie. It's called Naked Fame, and
I want to be built like this guy.
Yeah,
I would like to be as well.
Just order some roids, and it can happen.
His pecs are a little too developed. They look kind of like breasts.
Yeah, no, there's like a weirdness about them, but I mean, hey, I would not kick him out of bed.
He's at least a B cup.
Yeah, but he is like he's so much gayer sounding than you can even possibly imagine by looking at him.
That's
like it's to the point where it's weird. Like it's beyond look like Tarzan, sound like Jane. Like it's.
Nah, that's not too surprising. I've met a couple of guys that look like that have his face, but are very have a very high pitched voice.
Yeah, he sounds kind of like me or something.
It's funny. I've gotten into a couple situations where I'll be out with my husband at a restaurant or a bar or something, and or where we'll be out and about, and like we'll see some guy walk by and he's really cute, and then like you hear him talk, and then even though we're two guys and we're been together for 10 years, like my husband's first reaction is like, oh, fucking queen. It just takes you out of the moment. I don't know, like there's a documentary, I might have mentioned it before. It's like, do I sound gay? About this guy in New York, of course, New York, where all intellectual navel gazing originates, where he spends a good portion of the film going to voice coaching to sound more masculine, and then examining all of like the different social dynamics and constructs and histories of gayness and what does it mean to sound gay. And but the only really interesting thing I got out of it was that it's very interesting that almost all gay men hate their voice, even if there's nothing wrong with it. I used to absolutely hate my voice.
I really hate my voice. Which is really surprising if you like, because I don't really look that much. You look at pictures of me and you're surprised, and you meet me for a second and you're surprised, but it takes, I think, a good less than a minute to get used to it, and then it's like, oh, that's why. So, yeah. And also, I was a recording artist, like a singer, for a long time, so I had to really get over that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's when I actually got over my own feeling about my voice, is when I started making YouTube videos, and I had to actually listen to myself for long periods of time, and I just realized, okay, this is just the way I sound. And then I started reading comments, and someone told me that I have an ASMR voice, which I didn't even know what ASMR was at first. And
I think that was me. People have said that.
Was it? Oh, that's right. It was you.
Actually, me.
Yeah. That was you. That's totally, yeah. So I've made peace with my voice, but it is interesting that many gay men don't like their voice, even if there's absolutely nothing wrong with their voice, even if they don't sound particularly gay. Because I used to think that I sounded like a flaming just fag crazy, and I really don't. I've come to realize, but it was in my head because I was very self-conscious about my sexuality.
Yeah, I would give you like a 25% gay voice. Like, yeah, it's not.
There's a gay signature, but it's not like overwhelming or anything.
Yeah, there's definitely like straight guys that you meet that are like that do sound like you. Though you always get the creeps about them. It's like, is he a pedophile?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know exactly what you mean. There's a lot of people like those in churches for some reason.
Yeah, like some weird or like he would be the head of your mom's therapy group or something.
Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say, Farrell?
Oh, I was gonna say, really, my voice, I kind of had a lot of trouble adjusting to it, but to be real honest, it's more getting used to my accent that I'm serious. You don't hear your own accent.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear this and I'm like, oh my god, I sound like some fucking drunken hillbilly. This is great.
I like your accent.
No, I get rid of my dumb Valley Girl accent to a certain degree when I make my scripted videos, but when I do my improv videos, it comes out a lot more, and I'm like, oh god. Like, it's not that you can't kind of hear the sort of the Valley Girl thing, but like I have enough acting experience that I know how to intonate things in a more theatrical manner instead of like ending every sentence or even comma on a up tone, like I kind of do when I'm talking and stuff, like, and I keep going on and on, like that's I notice that when I'm doing the improv, and it's sort of embarrassing. It's sort of cringe. But hey, I actually grew up in Seattle and actually lived in California for 7 years in the city and knew lots and lots of people who just talk like that all the time. So
I still can't identify the California accent. I know we must have one. And I know that part of it is, you grow up in it, you can't really hear it. But even people from out of the state or out of the country, no one can really define what a California accent
there's definitely
is.
like the kind of Valley Girl LA, Orange County.
True, but most people in California don't sound like that.
Yeah, well, but there's a lot that do, and I knew some of them, and like I literally knew a gay guy who had the fucking most embarrassing voice of any person that you can ever possibly imagine. He talked with a he talked with that type of thing with a vocal fry and everything, you know, like he'd be like, "Oh my god, I was at the bar last night and this guy that I just had sex with literally got up on the bar and announced it was like, hey everybody." This is a true story. This guy did tell this story to me. He's like, I was at a bar and this guy that I had sex with a week or two ago got up on the bar and he was like, just in case anyone has had sex with me within the past couple of months, I gotta let y'all know. I got the herp, I got the chlamydia, and I got the gananana. Yeah, I guess he had actually said that, which I now say I use. I got the herp, I got the chlamydia, and I got the gananana.
Oh my god!
And you know, there's gonna be some basic bitch that's gonna go to his doctor and be like, "I got the gananana. Can you give me the meds for that?"
As a healthcare practitioner, I have to say that just offends me.
That offends my intelligence, and I'm not a medical practitioner.
What's the ICD-10 code for gananana?
Oh my god! I'm gonna. I'm still gonna have to tell my dad about this. My dad is a doctor. He's just gonna laugh.
but the thing is that like this guy, he I think he was like the way he talked about it, he's like, and I was really annoyed because I was like thinking that I wanted to have sex with him again, you know, and like he would like actually do the vocal fry thing really bad. And I knew a lot of people that were actually smart and funny people if you got to know them, but maybe when you first met them you wouldn't have thought so, kind of like maybe Phoebe from Friends or something. Like they had that kind of humor about them, but it's like, wait, she's not actually as dumb as Phoebe. She just sort of talks like that because she thinks it's funny. So that's one of the reasons I sound the way that I do.
For some reason,
one of the things I love about YouTube though is just like all these people who just have like super old shit, super cringy shit, and it's just like part of who they are, and it's just out there, and it's totally cool. Like fucking PewDiePie's got videos like that. Fucking Garrett Watts uploaded a video just earlier today with like his old high school shit. It's funny as hell, but definitely not flattering. Not to make a comparison, I'm just saying like it could go like that bad, you know, and it's kind of like there's kind of a new culture of it just like not being a big deal.
I'm not sure I know what you mean. Could you make
like
that
if people
point
are
again?
embarrassed about their voice or whatever, and then like over time it kind of like you hear yourself and you can adjust it if you need to, or you just feel better about it. But the point is like people are just kind of themselves and they don't have to like self-censor so much.
You know, the only fucking thing that I'm like legitimately kind of like, I'm not really embarrassed about anything about myself. Like I have grown altogether too familiar with my faults due to having lots of haters over the years. Like I've, you know,
they made you stronger.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, I know all the different shots that you're gonna take, and I know how to like get over it. Though the one thing that I get personally very insecure about in terms of like actually judging myself over this, and it's amazing that I don't just do something about it because it's not that hard. Jordan Peterson tells us to is I'm fucking messy as hell. Like I don't clean very often. I forget to do it. And but there's so many reasons why I'm not clean. For one, then this is maybe the biggest one. This is maybe the absolute biggest reason that I don't clean all that often. Cleaning is really not that fucking hard. Jordan Peterson is like, it's hard to clean your room. It's really hard. No, it's not. No, it's really fucking not. Like it's like it can take 4 or 5 months for it to become messy, and then it takes like 2 or 3 hours to fully clean it, and then you're done.
He doesn't mean that it's hard to do. He means that it's hard to be a clean to keep your room.
Yeah,
clean.
well, regardless of what his point is, but like you're done, it's clean, and then like it takes a really fucking long time for stuff to accumulate again. And I had a very strong aversion to these people that like feel as if they have to, like, my mom would always make me clean when I was little, even if there wasn't any mess to clean. Like, it was something that she sort of, she was kind of neurotic about it. Like, it was like she wanted me to be in the habit, and it was like, but we're not actually cleaning anything that really needs to be cleaned. And okay, I don't need to get into the deep psychology of like why I don't clean all that well, but I do get insecure about that. Like, if people like actually saw, the way my room in my house like gets sometimes, and like there's a lot of people who have used that against me as some like, like it's like this deep character flaw, and like I'm gonna fucking and they always exaggerate it and act like I'm a fucking hoarder, which isn't actually true.
Oh, Prince, I've got to ask this, and this is coming from a very good place. Are you another messy neat freak like me?
No.
I love for the place to be neat and perfect and pristine, but it does not stay that way when I got shit going on, which is 90% of the time.
No. I'm not a neat freak. I'm not a neat freak at all. Like, I'm somebody that thinks that my time is valuable, and it's hard for me to focus on certain things, and I always have a million things running through my head, and I just forget to clean. Okay, so here's the real reason that I don't clean very well. My parents split up when I was 5, and I went back and forth between their houses. My dad had primary custody for a while. My mom had primary custody for a while. I think I moved back and forth like 2 different times each, or some crap like that, And my mom was incredibly just kind of neurotic, and like really, really wanted her kids to be good. And if we weren't, she felt like it reflected upon her being a bad parent. And so she tried altogether too hard to get us to be clean and things like that. And nothing was ever good enough, to the point where it was exhausting, and it never felt like we could please her. So it was easy to want to give up. Right. And my dad, on the other hand, is an incredibly busy person who doesn't really give a fuck about cleaning. He doesn't make a lot of mess, he just is on his computer mostly. And so when I would go over to his house, he just didn't really make me clean that much at all, almost ever. So it was really, really easy for me to just feel like cleaning was just some annoying thing that my mom asked me to do. And then, and it was like, I never felt inclined to like actually want to learn the skill for myself, because it always seemed so much nicer to be at my dad's house in that way. And I had to actively try to train myself to be more cleanly in college, and I like kind of got a little bit better about it. And then I got more into the substances after college, and some other stuff happened, and I just kind of lost my cool. Like, I never got the instinct of like feeling like I should clean for cleaning's sake, because the only person who ever tried to instill that into me was my mom, who tried so hard that I rejected it.
So what you're saying, Prince, is that you don't clean your room because you have a deep internalized misogyny against your mother.
And so what you're really saying?
When you let your room get dirty, it's really just a form of rebellion against your mother.
Oh my God, it's like Jordan Peterson and Kathy Newman's love child. Oh God, I can't get that mental image out right now.
Or we could say is that I am justifying my lack of cleanliness by demonizing my father as being a fucking aloof slob that didn't give a shit about, things like raising me right.
Hashtag because patriarchy.
Now, one thing I did get from my mother is there are certain times, when she goes on these major cleaning spills, and I never could figure out why. It's when she's really, 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 really pissed off. And I'm the exact same way. I mean, if you come in and I've got the table turned upside down and I'm like scrubbing the feet on it, some shit's going down.
Yeah, my mom is it's funny. My mom is a clean freak, but she also used to be kind of a hoarder. So it was like this eternal battle between her desire to keep everything clean, and it was clean, but she always had more stuff than there was space. So it never really worked very well. Thankfully, now that she's getting older, she and my dad had decided that, I don't know, that it's like, woman, I'm not going to take this anymore. And then she slapped him, and then they talked about it. And this didn't actually happen. I'm just picturing it happening. But yeah, she doesn't. The house is a lot cleaner now. Of course, they did buy a house that was twice as big as the old one, so that might have something to do with it too. There was no real point to that.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way though. That it's my lack is I usually just forget to throw stuff away, so then I end up with a stack of like semi-shredded mail.
Well, I had this really horrible thing happen to me in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I lived in this apartment, and you know, I was used and abused by many different people in the San Francisco Bay Area because I had this like pathological altruism thing going on where I felt like I should just be a good person, and I had a bit of like white privilege, well, not white privilege guilt, but like a little bit of white guilt. And a little bit of like privilege guilt, even though in retrospect, like I should probably have just never had the privilege guilt. Like that was like an irrational thing because overall my life circumstances are pretty fucking rough. But due to the fact that I was not fearing homelessness ever, and I had this rent control apartment,
Wait, you have rent control in San Francisco?
Yeah.
You're a bad person now. Like I don't like you. I always wanted to live in a rent control.
If I could have you right now, I would.
No. I had what they call the golden handcuffs, where it was like I couldn't really afford to live there anymore. But I could, with my rent control. And I could, it would have like, I could barely afford to like do anything ever. Like I was just hanging on by the skin of my teeth, and I could, like I could barely even afford to actually physically move, you know, to somewhere that might be more affordable. And so it's like, you're stuck in your rent control apartment, and but you're right in the middle of San Francisco. Ooh. So, I lived in there for about 6 years. Maybe 6.5 or 5.5 or something. But for a long time. And I let 4 different people stay with me. 2 for about a year each. And basically none of them paid any like significant amount of money for rent. Like I allowed these people to use me. I allowed them to freeload off of me. And that's something that like I will never let happen to me again. You know, like it was me being young and not knowing how to make proper boundaries with potentially like out of all 4 of them, only one of them had circumstances that makes it so that like I'm glad that I helped him out. You know, and now granted, I do kind of wish that I was in a state where I could have been more proactive in terms of getting him to help himself a little bit better, because he got deeply depressed. But the thing that happened with him was that he was kicked out of an apartment that he had rent control in, and he had been living in for like over 10 years. And he got kicked out due to ridiculously stupid San Francisco domestic violence laws. He's a gay guy, and his boyfriend had some friend come and visit and stay with him, and the friend was fucking crazy. Like he's I think that he was actually like, you know, a bipolar person who was off his meds or something. And my friend had conflict with the guy, and the guy ended up threatening my friend, and my friend, I think, punched him in the stomach and then went to go wake up his boyfriend, saying like, he was like, this guy's trying to attack me. And then his boyfriend like was freaked out because he woke him up, and it was confusing. And then the other guy like called the police, and or maybe he even called the police. But then by the time the cops actually got, I think he might have ran away because he was scared of this other guy, because the other guy was fucking crazy. So he like tried to wake his boyfriend up to say what had happened, calls the police, runs out of the house, and like waits for them in the park or whatever. So then the police come, and try to talk to the two guys, be like, hey, what happened? So we got a call, and the crazy guy and his boyfriend are like, the crazy guy denies everything, and his boyfriend is like, I was asleep, but my boyfriend woke me up shaking me, trying to, get him to get me to be mad at this guy. And then the other guy's like, well, I didn't do anything. I don't know what he's talking about. And so the police are like, okay, well, due to San Francisco law, we need to make an arrest because this is a domestic disturbance. We can't just go away. So who is the instigator here? And the crazy guy was like, well, him. And then the boyfriend is like, well, I can't say that that's not true because I didn't see it, but he did wake me up shaking me. And the police are like, okay, well, we're going to arrest him.
That is ridiculous.
So they arrested. Yeah, they arrested my friend.
That is fucking retarded.
Yeah, they arrested my friend, and he ended up being banned from his own home, and he had to move. And he, I think it was a temporary kind of a thing where he had to he wasn't allowed to go back there for like a month, and then so he ended up bringing not even, he had, it was like a 2-bedroom apartment, and it had a pretty big living room area. It was a really nice place. And he was antiques. He was in his late 30s, and he was the type of guy that was really into antiques and shit. And so he would have all this weird lamps and shit like that. He's that type of gay. And he was very attached to a lot of those things. And so he ended up staying with me, and we went and got as much stuff from his apartment as we could, and it ended up filling up. 85% or so of the stuff that was in my apartment was his crap. Just completely filling my 2 closets. And I mean, maybe not. No, it was about that bad. It was really, really, really bad. How much? Because I didn't have a big apartment at all. And when it got to be that point, it was putting stuff of mine on top of it. It was just so, it took it would be 3 drops and the glass is overflowing. You know what I mean? So it was so impossible to keep my place clean because there was basically nowhere to put stuff. So I just, after a while, just kind of gave up. And I couldn't get rid of the stuff because it was largely not mine. And I have this really, I have complexes about getting rid of stuff, thinking that people are going to getting rid of stuff that's not really mine, because of when I was a little kid, my mom rented out rooms to other people when I was she had a big house that my dad had bought and she got possession of, and so there would be 2 or 3 extra people kind of living with us, and I could get in really, really big trouble if I were to ever throw something away or move something, or you know what I mean? It was that was a no-no. And so I'm very hesitant to touch roommates' stuff because that came from something that happened to me when I was a little kid. And so I never thought about the possibility that I could just get rid of some of his stuff. It's look, this is my fucking house. It's been here for months and months. You can either figure out something else to do with it, or I'm getting rid of it. I just didn't. I don't have. Maybe I should have that capacity now, but I didn't at that time.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I and then these other fucked up things happened. I had friends who would start cleaning my house for me often when I didn't even ask them to, and they would start throwing stuff away. For whatever fucking reason, whenever somebody else, if you're a messy person and you have friends that clean your apartment, they always reliably throw away things that you don't want them to, things that are expensive that you have to replace, or things that are actually important, important documents and shit. And they're like, oh, it just look like trash to me. And it's yeah, that's why you don't clean. One of the biggest reasons that messy people are messy is because they are afraid to throw away things, because they're afraid of throwing away things that are important.
I can relate to your story because, we've talked about that friend of mine who basically kind of Stockholm, not even, I don't know, reverse Stockholmed us. He just kind of, we took him into our home because of his life falling apart, and then we couldn't get rid of him for like felt like almost 2 years,
and emotionally terrorized you guys into
emotionally, physically. I mean, like he bit my husband, like he ruined, like the door to his room is still completely shattered. Like those hollow core doors, like if you punch them really hard, I know what they look like now, because that door is completely gone now. And then because he was a tweaker, he tried to fix it by ripping the paneling off of the molding around the door so that he could fix it, and then he never finished it. So anyway, but he left so much of his stuff at our house, and he would just say like, I've lost everything, this is all I have, like like just random crap, like tools and beds, or like beds plural. Like my own home started to become overwhelmed with his stuff, and he'd come and he'd go, and eventually he kept saying, oh, I'll pay you guys for this, or I'll come and get it, and it never did. And my house was like this glorified storage depot for his stuff. And eventually it came to a head like almost 6 months ago. I finally confronted him when I just had enough. I told him, you are a human parasite, and you're using me for my house. You're using your boyfriend for his body, and I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And he left. And then I stopped talking to him completely. And you know what? At that point, I finally got the gumption. You know what? I'm getting rid of this shit. And it felt damn good. I must say, it felt really, really good, because I realized that his stuff being in my home and my fear of getting rid of it because of like whatever, like, well, what if he becomes a good person again and I'll feel bad, or what if he gets mad? And I'm like, you know what? This stuff is like holding me hostage.
How old is this guy?
He's my age. He's like
old. I think that the expiration date upon the what if he becomes a good person thing officially expires at 30. Like
totally.
You don't start to like drastically start to improve at 30. Like no, it's not anyone else's responsibility besides maybe your family.
I know. And honestly, by about the fourth relapse and the fourth, like showing up and being okay, and then like a week later being just as shitty and being on the drugs again, that's like, okay, you know what? And finally, I just completely wrote him off. And he called me once on, he called my husband because he knew I wouldn't answer his phone calls. But he called my husband because my husband is soft and he loves him still. Well, not really, but kind of. Anyway, he talked to him, and then he put me on because he said he wanted to talk, and he's like, okay, so how do I fix our relationship? And I just looked at him. I said, well, we don't have a relationship anymore. Yeah. And he's like, then he started to cry, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I mean, I guess I told him, like, I'm not trying to hurt you, but like that thing that we had that was like, really special, you completely destroyed it, like utterly, like you killed it. You burned the corpse, and then you fucked the corpse. I mean, like, there's nothing left. If you want to have a relationship with me, you're going to have to, rebuild it like new. Like we're going to have to.
No, fuck that. He doesn't.
Well, no, he doesn't.
No. It's not even about. No, sorry. I phrased myself wrong. It's not that he doesn't deserve it. It's that, like, if you even think that you could allow him to do that, then he still has a hold on you.
It's true, and the way I told it to him, and you are right. What I said is like, because he's like, well, can I come over and see you guys? And I'm like, well, no. Like, if I'm to get to know you, then like I don't know, I'll meet you for pizza or something, and we'll just go from there. But yeah, reliable.
Yeah. Okay, so like when you talk about this guy, we've talked about this guy a lot in the past.
Yeah,
and
we have.
The starting point was that we used it to, as a sort of, I had been talking about my long-term friend who I believe has antisocial personality disorder, because he would literally be a textbook case, like, and I say this as somebody who knew him starting in the late 80s, maybe 1990 or so when we met, and stopped being friends with him just about a little bit over a year ago. And he's actually exhibits absolutely every one of these symptoms of antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah, he really does.
Well, and the thing is that like he is manipulative. He's able to, you know, make it look like he has compassion for people, make it seem like he's a nice guy. He knows that other people respond well to nice people, and he knows that other people respond well to virtuous actions, but he only does them just
For
enough
effect.
to make, yeah, for effect, just to make a show out of it, so that it seems like maybe he's like kind of like that, but he's not like that at all in any way. And he also never apologizes, but
No, he doesn't.
yeah,
And
but and to the point where it's like, wait, he just actually doesn't know that he's done something wrong, because the concept of doing something wrong doesn't occur to him. And that's what this guy is like. And um I thought that there was something messed up in him that could be worked out and everything, and I did that so many times, and allowed himself to start over with me so many times, and it's gotten to the point where it's like I haven't set a rule against being friends with this guy. It's that my compassion for him has gone extinct.
oh yeah, no, that's exactly where I
Like
felt.
if this guy said, "Hey, I want to talk to you, I want to work things out," and I said, "No, there's no way, no, I'm not," I would say, "No, he would say, "Oh, what, you're just going to boycott my friendship?" It's like, no, it's more like I'm just not interested. Like I literally am not interested in any way in ever having anything to do with you. The only thing that I would have anything to do with is tangentially through you, which is my connection with your sister, who I still care for. Like, and if somehow I ever had to interact with you in some way, I would try to avoid it, but it would be because of her. Like,
Yeah, you
and
get to a point where you just like, there's so much scar tissue that gets built up, you could just never get back to it.
well, no, it's not even, no, it's more like, wait, there was never anything there. Like everything that I thought, that every bit of friendship that I thought that maybe we had was entirely in my head. He's a fucking sociopath.
It's just a sad thing to think about another person, but you know, it's like, it's at that point where you realize you're not
It's a
really.
bad fucking thing to realize that you wasted your like over 25 years of your life giving this person, you know, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, second, seventh, eighth chances, you know?
Yeah, at some point you just have to do tough love. You just have to.
Not
Or
even
even
tough love, just tough. Like fucking protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what I'm not saying like love at all, but I'm just saying you need to just tell them to fuck off and do their own shit at some point.
You can't.
It's a matter of self-respect after a certain point.
Yeah.
You guys should all check out this video that Farrell did recently. What'd you call it, Farrell? Something about bees?
Yeah, it's a something about users and bees, something like that. The bees come from a nifty little story about how they behave once you get inside the hive. But I was talking about how not all your friends can be trusted. In fact, you can let your guard down around some really manipulative people. And I talked about one of my friends that I'm going through that with now.
Well, like my grandpa always said, you can count all your real friends on one hand.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
That problem comes up on YouTube not uncommonly. Like it's funny too, because Miss Misa actually made a good video about this, because during the whole little blood sports period,
God, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, well, yeah, because of the fact that it revolved around, like it would have never existed if it weren't for the fact that a select handful of people who were friends with people were able to just completely betray their friends for profit, you know? And so then people were like, dude, why are you treating, say, Jeff Holiday like such a fucking asshole? Weren't you guys friends? Then the response from the crowd of people who were, you know, just relentlessly attacking Jeff Holiday was to say, oh, you guys care so much about friends. Oh, this is the internet. Who cares about friends? And they would spell it with a W. And Miss Misa was like, Okay, I just have an issue with this. I just got to admit, you're literally attacking people for having friends. Like, when we just think about that for a moment, like, and it's really true. And she's
That's
like, okay,
perfect.
and then she steelmanned the argument, and she was like, okay, I can understand what you're trying to say in terms of the internet and YouTube and how there's people that are going to be sort of act like your friends, and you become friends with them, but then you don't actually really have a real relationship, and then it turns out that it was completely shallow, and that they're going to betray you and backstab you and use personal details, maybe use personal details that they know about you against you at a later date. And she was like, but you know what, that also happens in real life. It's just like, like, have you ever actually had friends, and it's really true. Like, this stuff comes up on YouTube, but it's like not in any particularly more serious capacity than in real life.
I think
you should have countered with, the internet isn't written in pencil, it's written in ink.
Wait, what?
It's the famous quote from The Social Network.
Oh.
And the ultimate line to pull out if anybody ever tries to trivialize internet drama or anything that happens on the internet, because it is written in ink.
I see what you're saying. It can't really easily be deleted.
I think the only people that really take that kind of idea of, like, this is the internet, there are no friends, seriously as some sort of like philosophy are seriously damaged people with personality problems.
Yeah,
because
I consider you guys my friends.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
We've never met physically, and in with the case of Bacon, it's particularly ridiculous because we live like 10 minutes from each other, and we still never met each other.
Yeah.
But
it's a really fucked up thing, and it also acts like it's impossible to fucking meet your internet friends in real life. It's not. I fucking had a fucking goddamn gathering with, like, there was like over 30 people there last night, and we were talking and talking and talking. It was fucking awesome. It was, like, what type of fucking mental disorder would I have to be like, well, Benjamin Boyce is just my fucking, internet friend. It's like, what does it doesn't even make sense. Like, I've been on the internet constantly since the 1990s, and I've known a lot of people both on the internet and in person since then.
I have the perfect name for the kind of people that do that. Like, I call it Medicare disorder.
Yeah, well, he's the person who kind of like encourages that. Like, he
does, because he can't have. I don't think he knows what friends are.
Maybe I don't. But he definitely is the one that is like, well, I think that having internet friends is stupid, blah 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 blah. And then it turns out that everybody who hangs out around him like has that same mentality and says the same exact stuff. Like,
they're all shitty.
Sounds like he got what he paid for recently.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? I didn't hear about this.
Oh, I heard that the whole internet bowel syndrome, or whatever it's called, IBS thing, internet blood sports. I hear that's been going down like a lead balloon.
Oh yeah.
Well,
they've been turning on him.
It's been.
Well, no. I don't think that they've turned on Medicare.
Oh.
No, I think that it's more like Medicare's just sort of thrown the ones that are no longer useful to him out. And now now Medicare seems to be no longer interested in proliferating the internet blood sports. That's just what it seems like to me. And I don't know what he's even up to. Like, I don't follow it anymore.
Probably for the better.
Like, as far as I'm concerned,
he'll be happier with something else.
Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the same thing that I always said is sort of still the same thing. I have things that I actually care about. I have YouTube friends that I actually like. As long as we can talk about the things we actually care about, and as long as my friends aren't being fucking lied about and I'm not being lied about, fucking, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Well,
sounds reasonable to me.
The only thing I can say about blood sports is it seemed about as entertaining as watching 5 hours of headline news on CNN.
Oh my God, Bacon, I love you for that.
It was kind of like watching Jerry Springer, but without the video. It was like if you listen to Jerry Springer on the radio.
Well, it would be kind of. I would think that there would be a little bit more of a No, you know what is a better fucking comparison? It's entertaining in the way that live camera feed of some potential when there's a helicopter filming someone that might jump off a bridge.
Oh, God.
And you're watching to see if the person's going to fucking jump off the bridge because you're like, oh, that's a real person. I don't want them to jump. I don't want them to jump. And then you realize you just watched 2 hours of that fucking thing. It wasn't entertaining, but you felt like you had to watch because Allison Tiemann is being dogpiled and you really, really like Allison and you don't want them to say anything about Allison that is somehow going to make her look bad. And so you feel like you have to watch, but you don't feel entertained. You just feel obligated to watch because
you're being held hostage.
No, actually, I steered clear from that stuff. I'm like, I know exactly what they're doing. Fuck them. I got better stuff to do.
Yeah, same with me. That's why I compare it to headline news. It's literally so excruciatingly
boring. And me watching wasn't going to help Allison in the least.
Yeah. It was just excruciatingly boring for me to watch. I'm like, I can watch another 5-hour stream that I might get something out of.
I'm glad you guys felt that way. As a fellow YouTuber, I did not feel that way. I felt like I had to pay attention to what happened, and I'm glad that I did because, we all know.
Well, I'm kind of a shit person, though. I mean, in all fairness, I own it.
Well, I'll say this too, like Prince, like you had a lot more skin in the game because, again, out of all of us, you're the only professional YouTuber. We're all glorified weekend warriors.
And a Twitch bot.
You wish.
I don't know. More like the weekend warriors. That's even a stretch for me. You know, it's more like a afternoon warrior or something like that.
The afternoon. It's not even afternoon tonight. It's just afternoon, like surprise.
Like 20 minutes after lunch.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I'm so freaking tired.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up because I got to go to the bathroom really bad anyway.
Can we get Cat chill our thing for a couple minutes before we
You haven't figured out to keep a Coke bottle handy yet? No, I'm kidding.
It would need a rather wide top. Maybe a big gulp.
The 2-liter.
No, I get what you're saying. You need not elaborate, trust.
I was eating ice cream and I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh, you're gonna pay for that?
Oh yeah.
The chocolate ice cream emoji.
Anyhow, talk about your video.
I have Bacon and I got together a while ago, and Bacon wanted to do something, and we talked about what our skills were. He told me, and Bacon, feel free to cut me off at any time. He told me that he was really good at research, but that he hated editing and he didn't know how to make his videos pretty. And I said, well, I'm the opposite. I'm really good at making my videos pretty, but I'm not super great at research.
You got it.
Okay, it's gone now. And so we spitballed a few ideas, and I gave him a very broad topic, not exactly sure what we'd get. And what I got was like about basically a 60-minute piece of just incredibly detailed information about what do Bay Area. We just thought of the ideas like, okay, well, gay charities in the Bay Area, what do they spend their money on? Like, does any of it even go to help men anymore?
Yeah, and our original topic, I think, was do men still run these organizations, which is largely yes, but as we can tell from modern politics, that doesn't matter anymore. It's whatever the feminist heartbeat says where things go.
Yeah, and he got some really good information, and we finalized it. He made a script, he recorded it, sent me the raw audio, and then I started editing it because edited audio always sounds better. And then I started making visuals for it, and then I started working a second job and lost the ability to form coherent thought. And I finally have finished part of it, And then I realized that I wanted originally to make it into a big movie. And then I realized that I don't actually have the skill to make like 8-hour-long movie with also incorporating the bits that Farrell, I asked Farrell, to do a bit about Media Matters and
SPLC.
And the SPLC. And he gave me some
bitched about them.
You gave me some really good information. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure how to integrate that into Bacon's stuff because even though they're in parts, it's it's a script. It goes from one part to the other, and I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm just gonna make this into a mini series. That way, I can break it up as I need to.
That, or just hang on to it, or end up.
It's too good not to use.
Using it in your own, it's no big deal.
It's too good not to use. And as a series, it allows me to I can have, we have Bacon's stuff, we'll have your stuff. I also have some great stuff that I got from my Swedish friend who I haven't heard from in a while. I believe he's calling himself Nifantis these days. And he talked about his experience doing gay charity work for not for the Swedish government, but for everything in Sweden is somehow connected to the government, even if it's not. But doing gay charity work and what they were doing out there, which is just really distasteful. In a nutshell, one of his stories talked about how he was supposed to be helping the gay refugees from Syria and other parts of the Middle East to integrate and get their to immigrate and to get their paperwork all in order, and he wasn't being given any resources. And when he asked why there wasn't any money to help him, when that was supposed to be the whole point of their organization, they said, well, we have to defeat this transgender bathroom bill in Poland. So think about this. A Swedish gay refugee organization is sending its money to a political organization in Poland. And we find that all over the place with these gay charities, where it's the money is being collected locally, presumably by the people who are giving the money. They think they're doing it to help their local area. And in fact, the money is almost entirely being spent either on salaries for these people or being siphoned off to completely unrelated political causes, often extremely far away. And so that's what we've been doing. And next week it's basically the first episode is essentially completely done. And we're going to be uploading it on the 11th on my channel and on Bacon's channel. And with that's pink dollars at work.
Yes. And we also disproved a little bit of the, gay men did nothing during all of history.
Oh yeah. The first point
we basically took the trannies was queens argument to the back and just shot it like Old Yeller.
No, we shot Old Yeller, then we cut up his body, made lumpia out of it, and fed it to his former owners. That's
that was creepily specific.
we were very horrible people for doing so.
But it felt good. And once we get the first episode out, and we'll fine tune it, because I have all of Bacon's audio and I have a lot of the visuals, but right now the biggest part is just plugging in specific historical images to go with specific points. Otherwise it'll just be Bacon talking and my kind of Bergman nightmare acid trips. I don't know what else to call my visuals. They're just these weird psychedelic colorscapes that are very pretty, but if you look at them for too long, they'll probably give you a migraine. But unless you want to listen to Bacon and that the whole time, I need to put pictures in there. Otherwise, it's just it's really weird. But
it's psychedelic, and that's good given the time period that we're ripping an argument up from.
True, but we want the people to be actually know what we're talking about and not be distracted by all the weird static images.
True. We are expecting this to go to the normal gay guys, and some of them are, distracted by shiny colors.
And I have a lot of shiny colors in my visuals.
Well, you are the gay man in this duo or triad or throuple or whatever it is.
Although I have to tell you, I've said this before,
Triad.
Bacon. Right now we're a triad. If you get involved, then we'll be a quintuple.
Actually, aren't we already a few?
That's right. I forgot about Nefantes.
Yeah. Hey, how dare you forget about the Swedes?
I know. But it's really going to be. Oh, I was gonna say, Bacon. like my final note about you. I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again publicly. You are the gayest bi man I've ever met. Like, I know
what's that make our guest from 2 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah, actually, no, he's a bit gayer than you are, like Jewish bi guy. Like,
yeah,
I know
he's a sweet kid though.
He's incredibly sweet. I've talked to him before, and I enjoyed your guys' stuff. I just saying, I don't get the bi at all. Like, it to me, he never talks about girls. He doesn't seem to have any interest in girls. I mean, like, he is as gay as strawberry Pop-Tarts, as far as I can tell. But
my primary reason for going for dudes is dudes are easier to understand.
Well, yeah, you can't understand women because they're bizarre creatures that are, they're powered by the moon and we're powered by the sun. Like, we're just fundamentally incompatible.
I'm powered by Mountain Dew.
Mm-hmm. You're powered by Mountain Dude.
Anyways, you guys ready to tune out for tonight?
Yeah, let's hit the hay.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm gonna hop off for the night.
Talk to you later.
Later.
Love
everyone.
everyone.
Chat. We love you. Thank you.